Well, after all, you are the future of Haymarket. When we all are dead, you're the future, man.
Over my clocks. All right, we're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. This is our September 8th Town Council meeting. We'll go ahead and have roll call, please.
Yes.
Present.
Here.
Here.
Present.
Here.
And to give our invocation tonight, we have Pastor Tim McOwen from the Living Hope. Pastor, if you could join us here.
Let's pray. God, thank you very much for this community in which we live. We thank you for your goodness to us that you express in a lot of different ways. Thank you for school beginning. Lord, we thank you for the way you blessed this community with so many great people and just so much wealth and abundance. Lord, I pray for the government of Haymarket in our town. Whether you give wisdom to those who are making decisions, that they would do so in a way that would honor you with integrity and transparency. And I thank you for the men and women that you've called to lead us. We're particularly mindful for the Swinford family. Ask for Phil for your mercy and grace on that family as he continues to recover from a terrible accident. Lord, we thank you for those who serve in law enforcement and ask your protection and wisdom as they do a very difficult job. I ask for this meeting that it would be done in a way that would honor you and we would listen and hear one another. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. We could continue to stand and we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We are honored today that we're proud to announce that the Ronald Reagan Middle School archery team has won the first place in their division and first place in the Triple Crown Challenge in the NASP 3D over the August 15th weekend in upstate New York. This IBO tournament brought archers from all ages in the counties to upstate New York. This is the first year that NASAP has participated alongside the International Bow Hunting Organization. This Triple Crown Challenge is a culmination of the national tournament, World's tournament, and the IBO tournament scores. And so there's several these young men and women that, boys and girls here that we'd like to recognize. And so I'm going to ask Vice Mayor if he could come up with me to the podium and we could give some certificates out.
Michael Aldana. Elise Ambrose. Jordan Bauer. Eloise Grayford. Joshua Kamir. Chris Caballero. Lynn
Adrian Engel. Autumn Gray. Artem Karko. Amanda Kramer. Ashley Kramer. Nick Kuhn. Nick Miller. Maggie Morgan. Ian Novak. Skylar. Okay. Andreyko. Danby Reed. Jack Riccardi. Eric Sarandria. Patrick Smith. Nancy Stephenson. Noah Vandermeer. Aaron Watcott. Kendall Williams. This one is our coach, yes, okay. Coach Jonathan Luke. Yeah, so what we'll do is, if we can get our whole team up here and we can maybe take a picture here with the council, that would be great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, just, you want to come up? Oh, okay, sure.
All right.
So I'll come this way and face that way.
Come on.
Real tall, maybe be in the very front. And if we're not so tall, maybe you're towards the back. All right.
That wasn't bad. That was pretty good, actually. That was pretty good, actually. I thought you did well. Oh. Your old book? Oh. Should we, You did a good job. Mr. Mayor, how about a hand for the moms and dads and for supporting these and creating these winners?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Thank you.
And you guys, we're going to start in our regular meeting, so if you guys didn't want to stick around for that nuts and bolts of things, you feel free to, if you like to stay. Yeah. Yes.
The last time we were here, there was discussion about bringing back a proposal.
Yes, sir.
Do that now, or
No, absolutely, absolutely, yes. Yep. Ah, Great, thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, I'll kind of skim through this and get you to the important parts.
Sure.
If it pleases the council, Jonathan Buckler, the coach of the Reagan archery team. As you can see, the last time we were here, we had won the World Championship for 3D in Nashville. We were getting ready to go to New York for another tournament, the outdoor tournament, which we won as well. And when you combine our scores from the national, the world, and the outdoor tournament, added all those together, we ended up winning the 3-Star Challenge, which was also a new tournament. So we did pretty well after we left here. The second slide is just pictures of the team at different stages. A little history on the team. We're a growing middle school club. We started out 3 years ago with 69 members in the club, 90 members the next year, and 120 plus last year. And I can only imagine how many will be in it this year. After Thanksgiving, or once we come back from Christmas break, we turned into a team that competes throughout the summer. Our first year, we had 2 teams. We had an elementary division and a middle school division. They allowed 6th graders to shoot in elementary division. We came in second in there and 6th in the middle school. We failed qualifying for nationals that year by 7 points for the elementary group. The second year, we finished second in Virginia, 66th in the nation, 17th in the 3D nation, and 16th in the world. And then this past year, we finished second in Virginia, 13th in the nation in 3D and Bullseye, and then 6th in the world for Bullseye and 1st in 3D, plus the other 2 tournaments I mentioned. As far as the 3-Star goes, like I said, they took the scores from the Nationals, Worlds, and the outdoor tournament. After the national tournament, we trailed by 62 points. After the Worlds tournament, we trailed by 46, so we made some ground. And then we needed to win by 46 to win the overall. We ended up winning by 71, so we got more than enough. The next slide is just our progress over the year. As you see, the first year there, our high score was 28.43. And then the very next year at the state tournament, we shot 31.55. If you drew a line there in between the 2014 Worlds and the qualifying tournament, we picked up right where we left off the year before, and we've always gone up, never really gone down. Something about the kids, we had about 27. We started the year with 32 kids. We had 27 that stuck it out to the end. 15 are males, 12 are females. 5 6th graders, 9 7th graders, 13 8th graders, and all of those have obviously gone up a year. More than half the kids are in their National Junior Honor Society. Only 3 or 4 have represented the school in some other activity or sport club. So we have different kids than our super strong athletes coming into the group. And maybe 2 of the kids when we started this 3 years ago had any archery experience at all. So in the 3 years, or some even less, like our 6th graders only had 1 year of experience, have become world-class athletes in that time. We've been all over Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Kentucky, Wisconsin, Tennessee, and New York. Unlike other middle school sports, all of our travel has to come from us, our expenses, so our parents pay for a lot of that. All of our archers' families travel with us. We have hotel costs, airplane fees, rental car fees, meals, and activities. Our team expenses, $20 to $30 per archer per tournament. This past year, we paid about $6,000, and that's just one night for the national tournament and world tournament. Our target cores we replace every 3 months. Our target faces, the same thing. Arrow replacement, we go through those all the time. Bow maintenance every 2 years costs about $1,000. Team travel shirts for the various tournaments, and then our 3D cores cost close to $500. We hope to purchase a computerized scoring system this year, which costs about $800. That will save myself some time from adding up scores after every practice and putting them in the computer. Just all does it for me. And then we'd like to upgrade our website to promote the archers' accomplishments, keep the community up to date, and highlight our sponsors. We do a lot to get all this done. We work hard all year. We have many archery tournaments. We hold the Buckbuster, which is a 3D tournament, and our Cupid Classic, which is held on Valentine's Day each year. It's a Bullseye tournament. We have a 5K, various fundraisers throughout the school, Chick-fil-A nights, calendars, Foster's nights, and then we have generous parents and families. And then I spend all summer running archery camps, which a lot of that money goes back to the club. We have several sponsors around Prince William County and even some beyond. Our different levels are 500, 250, and 100. And you can see there what gets on shirts and banners and websites. And several of our sponsors this year have gone well above their $500 commitment. The next page is guaranteed or towards you guys. We'd like Haymarket, the town of Haymarket, to become our lead sponsor. I think that logo there on the left would look real nice in the middle of our shirts as we travel around.
Absolutely.
And then you could support the team from Haymarket. When we go to different tournaments and they announce the teams that won or the individuals that won, we had several individuals that won awards this year. It's never announced from Gainesville, Manassas, or even Prince William County. It's always Reagan Middle School from Haymarket, Virginia. So it's always Haymarket. There's nothing, it's never ever deviated from that. So in listening to conversations from the last meeting, we thought that maybe $2,000 might be a good way to start the year off for us. And we would gladly recognize the town of Haymarket as our lead sponsor for at least the next 4 years. But we look forward to sharing many more years to come. Our plans for next year, we already had plans to participate in Haymarket Day and the parade in a couple weeks. We'll continue holding our tournaments, purchase the equipment I told you about, and we're going to attend as many tournaments as we can to prepare the kids. Our main goal this year is to win the state tournament. We're sick of coming in second. We'd like to win that one. Even though World Champions is better, it's always nice to win the local one. Continue to improve in the national tournament. We'll defend our World Championship next year in Myrtle Beach. And then we are still working with Battlefield High School, and that looks like it's going to come together to have a high school team at Battlefield. Also, I've got it approved through the state, the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries, for us to host the very first 3D state championship, and we're hoping to do that maybe at Battlefield, but it'll be held here in Haymarket somewhere as soon as we get the details worked out.
Great.
And then, of course, I thank you for recognizing this again for the second time and considering our proposal.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you very much. Wow. That's great. And I understand your team motto is the diligent shall prosper.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm a Dave Ramsey fan, and he preaches that all the time, so it works well with the archery. You know, I think we work harder than a lot of other teams this summer. While people were on summer break, we had kids shooting every day, 3 days a week at practice, and then show up a tournament and put up numbers. So.
That's great. Wonderful. Great. Okay. If pleases the council, do we have any things I could add this as one of the items on our agenda, or if there's a recommendation or motion here?
I would like to recommend that we're meeting next week, I think, in the Finance Committee.
We are.
We are. Is it next week, Brian? Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like to make a recommendation that we kick it back to the Finance Committee. We'll take a look at it, and we'll work with the town manager and work on something and make a recommendation to the council.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Sounds good.
What do you think?
Yes. All right. That's great. Okay.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
No, I like that. That's good.
I would recommend that as the Finance Committee looks at it, they also look at kind of at the picture as a whole, not just this one instance, which is a very important and very well-deserved instance, but also kind of our policy as regards these sorts of requests.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I think, Brian, you mentioned that there's places in our budget that you feel that there's areas where we could look at
I believe there's
through training and,
I believe you have some options that you can explore, and I think keeping the big picture in the back of your mind would be the ideal thing to do. Yes.
I think I could probably speak for the council that I think would love to be the lead sponsor for this and to have our logo out there in supporting these young men and women here. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thanks.
Okay. Our next item, we'll wait here for just a second here.
They didn't stick around for the next one. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
We'll take a look at it and we'll talk about policy, because that was your point the last time.
I really think
Yeah.
Feel free to spread out.
It sure looks like it. We're going to talk about private enterprise at that next meeting, too.
All right. Mr. Henshaw, our staff appreciation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. This past August 21st through the 29th, we celebrated Staff Appreciation Week. The week featured many different methods of showing appreciation for our staff here at the Haymarket. Tonight, as one last way to honor some of our staff who have served the town for longer than 5 years and wanted to recognize their dedicated service to the town. So I will be calling each up and would like to present them with a small token gift from on behalf of the town. First is Jennifer Preli, our town clerk. Jennifer started with the town in January of 2003. This coming January, Jen will be celebrating her 13th year with the town of Haymarket. Jen has been that familiar face that residents have come to know when they have questions and concerns. Jen is dedicated to her profession, and the town of Haymarket is certainly lucky to have her as our clerk. So, Jen. Next up is Sherry Wilson, our town treasurer. Sherry actually just celebrated her 10th anniversary with the town this past August. Starting in August of 2005, Sherry began her career with the town as the deputy clerk. Another trusted member of the administrative staff, Sherry has also been relied upon by the community for her service. In September of 2014, Sherry was promoted from within to the position of town treasurer and has been flourishing in this role. It is an honor to present Ms. Sherry Wilson, Madam Treasurer, as I often call her, with her 10-year service pin. Finally, in the administrative side of the office, I'd like to recognize Holly Montague, our town engineer. Holly started with the town in 2010 and worked with the town on the original streetscape project construction. Mainly due to the increased development demands and the need for her particular skill set as a civil engineer, the town has found many ways to utilize her services over the years. For a jurisdiction our size to have someone with her knowledge, her project management skills, and background, we are honored that she has remained with us and continues to serve the town as our town engineer. Today, we celebrate Holly's 5+ years with the town of Haymarket. This time I'm going to turn it over to Chief Smith to recognize our police department.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. First, I want to recognize, in terms of tenure, or in order of tenure, Officer Greg Greedy, who's not with us here this evening. But as we noted just a few months ago, he has now served 15 years for the town, so he's the longest-serving member of the police department, and he will receive a 15-year pin. Next in order of tenure is Donna. Everybody knows Donna. Come on up. Well, I'm being told I'm splitting hairs here as far as who started first that year. Both of them have 8 years of service with the town as of this year. Donna does a lot of things. There should be no doubt in anybody's mind that she's kept busy every day with a lot of tasks and juggles a lot of things. There may be a mystery about what goes on over in the police department because we're not exposed to public view like perhaps the staff over here, but there's not a dull moment over there for her in her capacity. Between helping the officers, helping me, oftentimes helping the town administration staff here as well. So she's kept occupied every day. So Donna, congratulations. And perhaps out of turn, Officer Jeff Shaver, who also serves or has served 8 years with the town this year. And both he and Donna are being given the 5-year pin, of course, but Jeff's been with us for a while now. He's very active in the traffic department. That's his favorite pastime, if you will.
But as you know, in town here, we do have a need for help in educating the public on our speed limits to keep the town pedestrian friendly, so.
Thank you.
And if I could just make a quick comment, I wanted to thank Brian for his creativity in this year with your support, of course. I don't think this was done in the past, and I think all the staff has appreciated the fact that with your support and his creativity, there's been a lot of things that, we did last week that recognized some hard work. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, moving along here. Our September is our Blood Cancer Awareness Month. As you know that we, on September 1st, we lit our museum in red with a small ceremony. That was, I think, was a really good time to, there's some actually photos out there, I think, too, on the website of the ceremony. But we do have a proclamation that I think Councilman Passanello would probably like to read here.
I would love to, and thank everybody for being here. I have some news after this, but I'll read the proclamation. Proclaims September 2015 Blood Cancer Awareness Month and September 15th, 2015 Lymphoma Awareness Day. Whereas lymphoma is the most common form of blood cancer and the third most common childhood cancer, and whereas more than 80,000 new cases of lymphoma are diagnosed each year in the United States, including 1,900 in the Commonwealth of Virginia, of which approximately 100 or so will occur in Prince William County. And whereas a cure for lymphoma can only be realized through advanced cancer research, and whereas awareness and education are powerful tools in the race to find a cure for lymphoma, and whereas the health and vitality of the people of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Prince William County, and the town of Haymarket are significantly enhanced by local efforts to increase communication and education pertaining to blood cancers. And whereas Blood Cancer Awareness Month in September and Lymphoma Awareness Day on September 15th help to raise general awareness of the disease and provide hope to all those affected by a lymphoma diagnosis. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Haymarket Town Council does hereby proclaim September 2015 as Blood Cancer Awareness Month and September 15th as Lymphoma Awareness Day, and urges all citizens to support the efforts and activities of the Lymphoma Research Foundation to bring awareness and education in the race to finding a cure for lymphoma during the month of September and, of course, throughout the year. Mr. Mayor.
I'll take that as part of a motion and need a second.
Second.
And any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to throw in a couple of statistics, please. And I want to just let everybody know that we're very proud to announce that the Governor of Virginia has also declared September Blood Cancer Awareness Month and September 15th Lymphoma Awareness Day. It took a little bit of work, but that came through on the end of August, so we're very proud of that fact. Also today at the Prince William County Board of County Supervisors, Chairman Corey Stewart proclaimed Lymphoma Awareness Day on behalf of the Board of County Supervisors. So we're very proud of that fact. Also, not only is the town of Haymarket and the city of Manassas and Prince William County at the forefront of our effort here, we're going to be joined this year by Dumfries, and we were also joined by the town of Vienna. So just wanted to throw out a couple more statistics that really kind of sends it home. There are over 700,000 men, women, and children who are living with or in remission from lymphoma. If you look at the statistics for the entire blood cancer community, which includes leukemia and myeloma, we're talking about 1,500,000, so 1.5 million in the United States. What that translates to is that every 3.5 minutes, somebody gets a blood cancer diagnosis in this country. And it's not just men, women, or it's everybody. And it doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. And unfortunately, we lose someone that, they lose their battle roughly every 9 minutes in this country. So it's a growing problem, it's prevalent, and we look forward to your support and in support of this resolution. So I thank you very much.
And one other thing, I just heard from the clerk from Leesburg, and tonight there will be a proclamation that they're presenting to their council for approval as well.
Wonderful.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah. So no
Thank
further discussion, we'll take our vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Our next item is our business appreciation from Denise.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We are appreciating our businesses during the month of September. September is going to be recognized as Business Appreciation Month. This month we'll be honoring all of our town businesses throughout the month with the recognition of years of service here in the town. We will be featuring a meals tax-free weekend, the weekend of Haymarket Day. And also, I just wanted to let you know that we currently have 167 town businesses here, and over 15 have been here for 20-plus years.
Wow, that's great. Okay, would someone like to?
I'll go for it.
Okay.
Business Appreciation Month. Whereas the business community of the town of Haymarket is crucial to the town economic health, and whereas the revenue generated by the businesses community allows the town to provide services that positively affect the quality of life for its residents, and whereas the jobs created by the business community support the quality of life that Haymarket residents enjoy, and whereas the business community provides valuable support that fosters and encourages public-private partnerships through institutions such as the Haymarket Gainesville Business Association, the Prince William County Chamber of Commerce, the many public and private schools in the community, and other. And whereas the town values its existing business community and commits to making every effort to retain that strong economic base. And whereas the town council recognizes and appreciates the dedication, innovation, and entrepreneurial spirit displayed by our local businesses. Now, therefore it be proclaimed that the Council of Haymarket, Virginia, hereby proclaims September 2015 as Business Appreciation Month in Haymarket, Virginia, introduced and passed by the Council of the Town of Haymarket, Virginia, at the regular meeting on the 8th day of September 2015.
Okay, do I have a second for a motion?
I'll second it.
All right, Councilman Cottle, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great. All right. Our next item is actually our citizens' time. This will be a time for any citizen who would like to address the council, if they could just come up to the podium there with their name and address for the record. Yeah. Sure, absolutely, sir.
Price is right.
I'm not sure if we're on the docket today or what, but I would like to take some time just in case. My name's Brett Fry. I've met many of you. I'm kind of fortuitous that I'm here on today, a Business Appreciation Month being announced today. But I reside in Manassas. As many of you who were here last time will find that's a little bit of comic relief. But I reside in Manassas, and I opened the first business there in 4 years ago. I own a premium luxury tobacco business. We don't sell anything that is detrimental to legal issues. It's all premium cigars, pipes, and tobacco. We're looking forward to coming into the town and opening a business. We've worked diligently with the foundation that we're going to hear on the agenda today, and we hope that we can have some serious consideration to the things that are being discussed. And when that comes up, if any more can be added, I would love to add to it. But we look forward to being a part of the town and really bringing some upstanding place to congregate within the town.
All right, well, great, well, thank you for coming. Absolutely. Is there anyone else would like to address the council? All right, moving on to our consent agenda. There are a couple items that need to be pulled from the consent. I believe it's number 6 for the minutes, number 6, item number 13, and item number 16, that we had some revisions other than what's in our packet here. I'm not sure if they actually have made it to print, or we can pass those out. Jen, do you know? They've been corrected, okay, all right. And then also, on the agenda item number B, I'm going to pull the charter amendments off of that, and we'll have that on our next work session for proper discussion. So, is there any other items here that would like to be pulled off consent?
Since we did not have a work session to go over these consent agenda items, I would like to pull C and D, aid to localities and outdoor events ordinance, to discuss. The rest I'm comfortable with leaving in.
Okay, so that would be item C and D removed from the consent.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Any-
if I
sure.
may, you mentioned agenda item B, charter amendments.
Yeah.
For the sake of tonight's discussion, would it be appropriate, we would still have discussion on these. These are not going forward, but really, we're only looking for the authorization to hold the public hearings or schedule the public hearing for October.
Yeah,
Would it be okay to discuss that?
I spoke to the attorney about that, and I think we still will have time. If there was a concern about having those in time for the state, is that what the initial thought was?
That's the timeline that we're just concerned about. So the only issue we would basically be doing is advertising the public hearing. And so I'm requesting that we still have that, but you can still discuss it, and there'll be many discussions throughout the month, and you could always not vote on it at the October meeting. You don't have to vote after the public hearing by any means, but
Right.
just for the sake of having the public hearing, that's the only thing we were looking for this evening with regard to the charter amendments.
Right.
Can I ask a
yeah,
question
sure.
about that? So are we looking for public input? Is that the intent for the public hearing, or is it just to satisfy the statute, the law, essentially?
Essentially both. I think it's very important to open up for public input, but it's also important, I think you'd want to do, you have to either go to a referendum or you would be required to do a public hearing. The public hearing would do the timeline, is the best advance. What we'd like to do is take the month of September and be able to get the word out about the public hearing, and so we can get the draft charter out.
Yeah, I'm concerned about putting as far as a public hearing of what we're actually going to be hearing. And that's, I think it needs to be on the council level to first have the discussion, which needs a work session, reason why I wanted to pull it off. And then if what we decide on, we could still be able to make October or have a special meeting in October if we had to do a special meeting just for the public hearing.
I'm sorry, were you looking at doing this at a different work session than the scheduled work session?
The
Or
next scheduled work session.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it'd be the end of September.
Correct, exactly.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Mayor? Yeah, I think that makes sense, Brian, because I think we'd like to have a shot at taking a look at it, all of us as a council, and then put it out there, and then get some of the feedback from the public on some of the ideas we may have. We may not do very well, and we may do well. It all depends, but I think we need an opportunity to kind of vet it first.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I think if we're just looking for the aspect of the public hearing, we can schedule one of those anytime in October to still satisfy and get it in before the deadline's there in Richmond.
And
What
if
is
we-
the deadline?
If we do have time.
I think
let's
it's like,
do it. If we do have time, it's better for us to look at it first.
yes, yeah, correct. And it will need, I think, more time that we have tonight to spend for that, so. Okay, so we'll move on, so.
Well, on the consent agenda?
Yep.
So if I understand it, if we go to approve the consent agenda, do we have an opportunity to speak about certain items within it, or is it we just vote?
Well, what we could do is pull them off of there. We could, now's the time to pull them out of the consent so that way that we get the individual time or votes if it needed to be for discussion.
My only reluctance is that I know there might be some things on the different reports that people may want to report on. For example, we were talking on the finance side, and perhaps Sherry would like to do an update on where we are with the budget, and we had talked about capital improvements and a strategy going forward, and I think at our last meeting, we talked a little bit about that. So we might want to have that out there. And I'm not sure if there are other things, perhaps, Brian, you want to raise. So I'm just asking, should we do that now, pull some of that out, so at least you have an opportunity to address some issues?
What we could do is, for the department reports, why don't we pull them all off, with maybe the exception of the building official report, since he's not here tonight, it looks like, but everybody else appears to be here, and maybe the engineer's report. But if that's okay for just the people that wouldn't be here to speak for it, or we could take the whole thing, since we already have C and D.
I'd just take the whole
Let's
thing out.
take entire B off.
So we'll remove those from our consent for department reports.
That's cleaner, too.
Yeah.
Probably everything
Okay.
but the building official.
Yeah, so basically now we're looking at approval of the minutes with the exception of 6, 13, and 16. And the amendments were done, I guess, today, right, Jennifer?
With the exception of Ms. Collins.
Right, okay. All right. So now we understand what we're doing here. So we'll just be looking for a motion for acceptance of these minutes other than 6, 13, and
I make
16.
a motion for the consent agenda to adopt the 13 minutes acceptance, all of them except numbers 6, 13, and 16.
I second.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, great. So now we'll go down to our department reports. Go to our first is our building officials report, and I think that is on page
38.
38. Thank you.
I have no questions on
All
this.
right. Looks like we're all good with that. Then we'll move on to our police report. Chief Smith. And that will be on page 39 in our packet.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Only one quick comment I'd like to make is that it's been a busy couple of months. This past week, we've focused efforts on back-to-school awareness and monitoring bus stops and those such things, but also passing stop school buses on Washington Street, which has rather surprised me, to be honest, that that's a problem here, but it is, and there's been at least 4 summonses already since school began for passing stop school buses. So for those watching, I'd really like to get the word out there, as we posted on Facebook and other social media avenues. There is no place along Washington Street where it is lawful to pass a stop school bus. These are buses traveling in one direction and traffic traveling in the other. Turn lanes and such do not qualify as a physical divider, which is the only exception to passing a school bus in the opposite direction. So we're doing our part there as best we can.
Can I ask, was that down here on the south side? Is that where it happened?
And actually up at Coach Way, too.
Really? Wow. Not
The
good.
fortunate thing is children are not crossing, the school routes or bus routes are not designed so that, at least on those streets, that children are crossing. But nonetheless, it's a requirement, and people should abide by that.
And the penalty for that, Chief?
It's actually a reckless driving charge, so it's
Wow.
a maximum $200 or $2,500 fine, and it actually carries a penalty of up to a year in jail in egregious cases.
Wow, okay. All right. Well, great.
Good, thank you.
Any other question or comments for the chief?
No.
We did notice the sign that's up, which we appreciate you putting out there about protect our children. That was really thoughtful. I guess probably the next thing we would probably be advertising was maybe Haymarket Day. Is that correct?
It's to be programmed midweek.
Oh, great. Good deal. All right. All right. Thank you. Any other further questions?
Thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, next item on our agenda here is our town manager's report.
I have nothing to add, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. It's on page 44 of our packet there. Any questions for our town manager?
Yes, just to clarify, and maybe Denise, or you can answer for me, Brian, the meals tax is, of course, for everyone, all the vendors for the weekend.
That is correct. I figured we would cover that during the agenda item, but, and so
Okay.
it would be for all restaurants in town, anyone who charges meals or beverage or meals tax, including vendors who would be coming in.
Just to pique my curiosity, do we have any sense how much that might be? My gut is it's probably not a lot, but I'm just curious if we've done any analysis on that.
I would actually defer to our town treasurer, but I don't know we would have the exact numbers for you, but
Right.
I think your gut intuition would probably be correct.
Okay. I'll ask her offline.
Yeah.
I won't put her on the spot. Thank you.
Oh, you're so kind.
2 days out of 30, probably not much. And I would imagine some restaurants may choose to not abide by it and charge the meals tax just because it's going to be easier than swapping back and forth. It's more trouble to them to do that.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
I have more? Yep. I have more. Brian, do you want to just speak a little bit about the quiet zone, just to update the council on our meeting?
Sure. The Quiet Zone Subcommittee did meet. We are still trying to get an idea on the grant work that for the rail and safety crossings that we received grants for. We're trying to get an idea if this work has been completed as of yet, and then other than that, we're moving forward with the next logical steps in the Quiet Zone, which will basically be getting them to perform a new audit with the safety features in place. There might be an application fee. We may need, and then we would need to put up the signs. That would be the signage expressing a quiet zone. And after that point, then you basically can then start the process to declare.
Right. And the power out indicator, right? We still have to do that.
There is one
At
crossing.
Thoroughfare, right? Is it Thoroughfare?
Yes, Thoroughfare. There's one crossing that did not receive any grant funds, and we would look at possibly having to install the power out indicator. At the subcommittee level, we talked about reaching out to our colleagues in Prince William County and possibly other sources to see if we could possibly partner up to fund it. It's not a huge expense, but it is an expense, and it is outside the town limits. But the quiet zone would need to be cover that span. So 7 crossings total. That does include the private crossing. We've not declared anything as of yet for those who are listening or are curious about the quiet zone, but we are moving forward. Even, I think, at the end of the day, even if the town does not decide to declare a quiet zone, or if they do declare a quiet zone, the important thing is you actually got pretty good, significant safety improvements at 3 of the crossings in the area. So I think that's something to be proud of.
Yeah. And the other consideration is that the power out indicator at Thoroughfare probably isn't going to be a lot of money, and we put a large number in the CIP, not knowing exactly what the cost would be, so that may alleviate that need in the CIP. So we'll have to find out. Once we get a number on what that cost will be for the power out indicator, like Brian said, might want to approach our supervisor and see what we can work out with the county. After all, we're the ones that are sponsoring this for both the county and for the town. So that's all I have to say on that.
So I presume that we won't initiate the quiet zone until this last indicator is in.
That's correct.
Just one question. With all this building going on, refresh my memory. The 4 lanes, once the divergent diamond goes in, it's going to be 4 lanes all the way from north of town all the way to 29-211, correct? They're going to redo the railroad crossing out here and tie in. Looks like they're 4 lanes. Is that correct?
I think if I'm not mistaken, I defer to our town engineer who's been following the construction improvements, but if I'm not mistaken, that I don't think the crossing was part of the changes, although a lot of the expansion of those have been funded through private development from 55 to 29. That's the way that they're going about it, but it will be 4 lanes up to the tracks.
All right, it looks like they've cleared a large portion on the other side, south of town, if you will. That's just why I'm...
Correct. That's being funded by private development.
Right, but all this, I guess what I'm saying, is going to tie in, so that railroad crossing will be...
It'll be a pinch point at this time. It was not factored into the design of the total construction.
It's my understanding, maybe Chief knows better than I do, but my understanding is that there's going to be a flyover there eventually, but that's not part of the plan. So flyover on 15 over the railroad track. So it will be totally grade separated. You wouldn't have cars going over the crossing, they go over.
But
that's not...
way down the road.
That's in the long-range plan.
Goes down the road.
Yeah, that's the long-range plan.
Okay.
So there'll be a reduction to 2 lanes, and then when you get to the development, which is under construction, widen forward and reduce back down.
Okay, thank you.
And I think there's a briefing, well, it might not be on that. It's on the I-66 improvements.
Right.
I think I saw an email, there's a briefing in Fairfax County in a couple of weeks. So that might be an opportunity to kind of get up to date on what's happening, and maybe we could ask some questions about that as well.
That is the Transform 66 study. That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian.
Any other questions for Mr. Henshaw?
I'll pass. Joe took my time.
All right. Moving on, our engineers report. Any questions? Looks like Holly's already left, but...
I'd just like to say that it's good news that VDOT's saying that they might open Old Carolina Bridge by the end of 2015, rather than the spring, summer of 2016, which is what they told us 6 months ago. So hopefully they will be able to do that.
I think we should have a special ceremony for that, like a run across the bridge or something.
Sir, just one. I wish Holly was here, but I'm sure she's probably watching. During our last council meeting, we did ask, or I did ask of her to check with VDOT concerning the same thing that we did here at this intersection at Washington Street, if we could do the same thing at the CVS pharmacy. And she did, according to her report, she did check, and VDOT came back and said it wasn't worth it. Mostly because of an island that's there. I looked at it this afternoon, and there is an island just planted that would obstruct, and it wouldn't be feasible for VDOT to go through with this request that we're asking. But in addition, maybe, Mr. Manager, you could follow up with her concerning those 2 guy wires that leads from the new post on our green. I don't know. I think she is investigating it, but just to get an update from Dominion to see if they intend to remove those guy wires.
Any further comments, questions? Okay. Moving on to our town planners report. Rashant. Good evening. We're on page 48 of our packet.
Can you answer any questions?
The old, sir? Yep. Thank you. The old bank building, is this for a church or for the church's office?
It's just for the church's office. They will not be worshiping there.
Okay.
You may have noticed they just completed the painting, redid all the moldings along the, it's actually a patio along the single-story addition. So, and then also Ms. Contrucci just redid her property of the old post office out back. So both of those will be ready to go for Haymarket Tech.
Sweet. And could you explain a little bit about them having an open house for Haymarket Day? Do you know anything much about it? Maybe Denise?
Denise, did they coordinate more with you? Do you remember? I'm sorry. I'm putting her on the spot. They wanted to have an open house on the day of the Haymarket Day, so we're just making sure we coordinate with Denise so that we're not having 2 people in the same space at the same time. So we'll be able to solve that. We've also tried to see if the winery Blue Valley Winery that bought the fire station if they would try to do something in their float stopper, apparently. They would just, but they have another event going on that weekend. But they would have opened up the garage doors and start marketing on what they wanted.
How would that affect traffic? Where's the road blocked off at this year, sir?
All the way down to BB&T.
Okay. So that would be a good opportunity for them. Crack it open and... Any word on that, Ms. Denise?
Unfortunately, they will not be able to attend.
This is Blue Valley Wine.
Mr. Zissio's family will not be able to attend Haymarket Day. They had an event at the winery. Over 1,000 people will be there for an
It's
event.
not more important than us.
I know. That's what I said.
Do I need to call them?
We're going to have more than 1,000 people.
I know. That's what I said. So unfortunately, they will not be able to attend Haymarket Day. They just don't have the staff to have people here and at their winery the same day. And the open house, it's just to tell people about their church. That's what the
Okay.
open house is.
In the past, they've had a booth. They've had a tent in the past on Haymarket Day.
Yes, sir. St. Thomas Methodist Church, usually they have it.
But this year, they're not doing that. They're just having an open house.
They will have a storefront booth.
Okay.
So right outside of the location, they'll have a table with some information, and you can also go inside.
Okay.
So they'll-
Good. Good. Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions for Marchant?
Yes. Chick-fil-A.
Yes.
So the most ambitious timeline, what do you think?
Well, once I get my comments done tonight, I think they're ready to move as quick as they can. They're only going to need what they call a site plan amendment. It's a longer process if they had to redevelop the site. So as soon as we can get them through the commission and come to you, then they'll get moving forward. There is an opportunity, although we've not typically done that, to do a joint public hearing. There's a special use permit tied with the fast food drive-through. So if there's some way to build in some extra time, and it's the will of the commission and the council to hold a joint meeting, we'll try to coordinate that. That'll save them about a month and a half of time. So this fall is when, I'm sorry, to answer your question, this fall I think is when they try to start.
Break ground. How long do you think it'll take? Any idea?
They have such a prototype. I'm sure once they get rocking and rolling, probably 4 to 6 months, if not less.
Okay.
Just in addition to that, how about, don't they have to do a study with traffic?
They did provide some additional traffic analysis. Part of the reason why there was a delay was having to reorient the facility on the property, so we weren't creating a choke point at that entrance. Once the interchange gets built, that entrance by CVS is going to become what they call a right-in, right-out. So most of the traffic that wants to go back into town is going to go in by that entrance by Fauquier Bank. So it was more of the design of the building on the property that dealt with the traffic situation. The original Corals is a unified site plan across that whole property. And they're still below the traffic numbers they originally estimated for that whole property.
I don't think we would have an objection to do a joint public hearing for essence of saving time, and sounds like maybe a month and a half, correct? Yeah, I think that would be a good direction for you
I'll
to.
coordinate with the commission.
Absolutely.
Either have you come to their meeting or you come to they come to your meeting, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any other?
We know the chair.
They can come to the planning commission meeting. I request the council to be in attendance at the planning commission meeting for the Chick-fil-A project.
You can streamline it.
It will streamline it.
The ARB is done, we're just getting through the development process, and we're good to go.
Good, that's great, good to hear. Any other questions for Marchant there?
No, thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, thank you, sir. All right. Our next item is our Main Street Coordinator, Denise Hall. I can only imagine how exciting it is to be you and your cell phone over the next 2 to 3 weeks here.
I have a few items to add to my report. In honor of Blood Cancer Awareness Month, it didn't make the agenda because of the time frame, but September 1st, Tuesday, September 1st, we lit the museum red in honor of Blood Cancer Awareness Month. And as you can see, if you pass by the museum, the A-frame sign has been staying out past the 4:30 p.m.
We know that.
Yes. Thank you, Marchand. It's been out just to let the people, the residents know, and people who pass by, that every night the museum will be lit red. And we've had over 5,000 likes on the museum website. It's linked to the National Lymphoma Research Foundation, their website as well. So pass by the museum at night and see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, an update on Haymarket Day. I'm sorry. Yes.
One of the things I just want to add, I think some of the council members already know this, we have had so much success with this. It's actually something we're hoping to continue to do. It's very easy setup, but it's one of those things we feel like there's other very worthwhile charities out there that may have different colors of significance. Even if it's just for like a week or so, if we get the right culmination of floodlights, it's one of those things we probably can be pretty impromptu in making that happen because it's just a matter of screwing in a bulb. But the truth is, it actually kind of adds some interest to a really cool, one of our proud buildings that we consider ours here in the Haymarket, and it gets people talking. So, like, what color are they going to light it up next? Is kind of the thing that we want to go. So, I just wanted to partner off that and say that we're looking for, as the months start to come along, we're looking for new ideas on what colors we can light it in. So,
Absolutely, yep.
We're already looking into October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Great, yes. All right, go ahead.
So as we all know, we're 10 full days away from Haymarket Day. Yay. We are up to 160 vendor applicants and 48 parade participants. We closed our application process today, but there may be a few come in between tomorrow and maybe Friday to add. We are completely booked on Washington Street, so any additions will go on Jefferson, which is the nonprofit area.
Did I read correctly that we're closed for food vendors, too, that we've
Yes,
met our...
we've reached our max with food vendors, so no more food vendors. And we've been updating the website as we no longer accept certain applications. So at this point, the application deadline has passed, but we may have room for a few more vendors along Jefferson Street.
Are we meeting our financial goals for vendors in that?
I'm sorry?
Are we meeting our financial goals for, in our budget in that, we had assumed so much that the vendors would pay and help offset the costs and that sort of stuff? I'm just curious if we're in the ballpark.
I'll have to recheck the numbers, but I think we are almost there. I can definitely say the sponsorship fees did not come in the way that we anticipated. Right. So that has taken significant amount of money away from the Haymarket Day.
Okay. Are we walking? Oh, absolutely.
All of council is in the parade.
Yeah, and they all walk. It's a walking town.
We're getting segues this year.
Yeah. The operative question is, who's driving Pete's car?
That I do not know.
We're referring to Pete Canlin, our Gainesville District Supervisor. That
I believe so.
He's the one we need to
keep them moving.
All right. How are we gonna address the marshals? Do we have marshals that keep? Last year, one of the problems that we ran into was, we all know, maybe a quarter of the parade went ahead, and then you had the politicians that stuck around and stopped their vehicles. How are we going to ensure that there is a flow this year?
We are looking for volunteers to help assist with that.
All right, we'll talk. Okay. If I can walk fast and come back.
There you go.
Or I could just not walk.
Volunteer.
Yeah, I could just not walk and just be there ushering them on. But I think it would be useful if maybe between you, Jen, or Brian, someone meets with the drivers or even the politicians themselves or the individuals themselves to let them know that we've had this problem in the past and this year we want it to run smoother. We waited for 20 minutes last year By ourselves. Am I talking too much? Why are you guys looking at me?
You're talking.
Oh. We waited for about 20 minutes last year until Mr. Black finally got there. I mean, he has our votes, but, I mean,
I understand what you're saying, yes.
but we need to address it.
Yes.
So, are we having a meeting leading up to, are we having a final meeting with, like, the planners, we who are going to be serving that day?
Yes, our events committee is going to meet this week, but then we're going to have another meeting with everyone that's volunteering next week. So I'll be sending out an email for that.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we can. Yes, sir.
Councilman Morris, the only thing I'd say is one of the things we've been talking about from the events committee standpoint is we actually think this is kind of a combination of enforcement more than an issue. I mean, you can tell them to move on, and sometimes it works and sometimes it does not. Our local politicians and our state representatives are not the only issues that we have that go through our parade. So one of the things we're trying to do is we're really looking at the fact of our best approach. We think that those meetings do take place before the parades. I think it's going to be levied that we're going to be more serious about it. If we have issues with stoppages, they will be notified that they're on their kind of like last warning. So I don't think it's a problem you're going to completely solve within this year, but I think over time we can possibly work on trying to make it a little bit more tolerable. And the only reason I say that is because it's never been warned actually before than to just drop the hammer on them this year and say, well, then I think that'd be a little bit unfair, not really quite the business-friendly community we're trying to promote. So it's a balancing act, but we are working and are very, very, very aware of the issues.
And there is another aspect of it, because if we have marshals there, even just looking at last year's parade, if we had marshals there that would slow us down who are at the front, it would have worked. We wouldn't have a problem slowing down and stopping and waiting for them. So it's not necessarily dropping the heavy hand. It is also, okay, how can we have people positioned to stop? Because by the time we realized that we were so far ahead and other people had stopped, it was too late. So, and then the bike guys who were up front, we weren't close to them to stop them. So, as long as we have people spread out, along the path to communicate and slow down the parade if we have to slow it down. Yes, I understand we may not be able to eliminate them stopping, but if we can slow down and wait and take a little bit more time, show some grace as we walk on the parade. So that may be a way to solve it. Front. All right, just check your rearview mirror every now and then. Thank you, sir.
How many do we have in the parade? How many?
40. We have 48 participants. That's 48 groups. So I'm not sure what that equates to, because our GDC, our Gainesville Dance Center, they have over 200 troop members. So 1,500.
That's a lot of people.
Yep. A lot of people going down the street. Okay. Go ahead, finish, Denise.
Unless someone had.
Okay.
Questions.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions for it? Thanks. All right.
Denise,
Thank you very much.
well done.
Yep.
Well done.
I'll be talking.
Yes.
Our next item is our treasurer's report. Sherry.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, Sherry. How are you?
Good, thank you. Any questions for me tonight?
Steve?
I do not.
We did have Mary, our consultant, come in 2 weeks ago, got us prepared for our audit. The auditors are coming Thursday of this week to get started. Mary got us in pretty good shape. We got most of the information already to the auditors, so they believe they'll be here all day Thursday and a part of Friday.
Okay.
Great.
Questions for Sherry?
Yes, ma'am. You expressed a concern about the current rate of expenditures. Do you still have that concern?
I did express that concern with the Finance Committee. It is the beginning of the year. There are a few reasons that has happened. One, a lot of things we pay up front at the beginning of the year, like all the insurance monies and things of that nature. And also, Mr. Henshaw was explaining that we've now kind of diversified our funds, and they're in various places now. So whereas we were comfortable seeing a certain amount of money constantly in our checking account, it's over here now, set aside for our capital improvement funds. So it's not, it doesn't look as healthy as it did, but it doesn't mean we don't have the money. It's just divided into different places.
Are you stating that you believe we have a cash flow issue more than a budget issue?
Yes, I would say that.
And that's primarily because some of our funds are now in a higher interest rate and would take several days to access rather than have immediate access as we had before.
That would be correct, yes.
Okay.
But as a treasurer, are you comfortable with the reasons that you've investigated that would then quiet your concerns?
I am comfortable, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Questions for Sherry? Any others? Thank you.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
No, there's one thing. Is Sherry the acting treasurer, or she is the town's treasurer? But I saw a document that said acting somewhere. Maybe it's a misprint.
Could have been in old minutes.
Maybe it's an old minute?
Could be, before she became act.
Okay.
Before she was elevated.
Okay.
You're responsible now.
Next item is our aid to localities. And we're looking, page number 55 or 6, 56. I'll make a motion to move to authorize the treasurer to distribute $39,200 to Prince William County for the Virginia Department of Fire Programs funds to be dispersed to Antioch, Gainesville, and Evergreen fire stations.
We have a motion on the floor,
I'll second.
seconded by Chris. Okay. Discussion on the motion.
This is a standard thing that we do every year, or every so often. I'm not sure if it's exactly every year. We get money from Prince William County, from the state, and we cannot do anything with it other than disperse it to the local fire stations. But we can't do it directly to them. It has to go through Prince William County disbursement processes, so this is more of a formality.
And go ahead. Was it true that they actually have to show their item that they're purchasing or something like that? Was that in years past, Jen?
Yes, sir. What we are working with this year is their wish list.
Okay.
The county board would not let them expend it until we actually said we were okay with their wish list.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So we were kind of in a little catch this year. So I said, okay, I'll attach the wish list as long as they're okay with that. So that is in your packet this evening.
Great. Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, just
Yes.
one more. Have we used up all that we have received?
No, there's a little balance. It's strange how this comes in. We'll get $7,000 at the beginning of the fiscal year, and then we'll get $1,000 at the end. And it had already passed when this agenda item was being created for the Board of County Supervisors.
At the end of the year, would we have used up everything?
No, sir.
You mean we're giving back the state money?
No,
Or it-
no.
Just carry
It
over.
sits on our balance sheet as restricted funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't want to give them, let me be quiet.
No, sir.
Any other discussion on the motion? A roll call vote, please.
Morris.
Yes.
Woods. Cottle.
Yes.
Montanaro.
Aye.
Yes.
Great.
Our next item is our outdoor events ordinance, page 62 of our packet. We do have a recommendation and recommendation and a motion as well.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance 2015-008, amending Chapter 15 Outdoor Events, Section 17, as it relates to exceptions to the permit requirement for governmental events and large properties.
I'll second that. Motion on the floor and seconded by Vice Mayor Aiken. Discussion on this.
I have a question. Having talked to the owner of QBE up here, I see that it's like the fifth bullet point down. This will alleviate the recreational sports, correct? So those athletic teams will be able to meet because obviously they're over 50. And then the other question I had, that the event we did for the Marine who had lost his legs, there were a lot more than 50 people that day. This is not going to preclude events like those happening, correct?
No, actually, because of the nature of the design of that site, but also any other large parcel site within the town, that actually would allow something like that. That facility is actually built a little bit more for assembly use. They meet a lot more of the characteristics, and that's the reason why we looked at this. We looked at it as an unintended consequence of the original ordinance, and so we feel like both of these two amendments to it actually address both of those issues. They still are going to be working with the town to make sure we have a safety plan in place. They will also work together to make sure we're notified of any kind of events that may be taking place as well.
All right, and also a follow-up to that, the said communities in town, like Villages of Haymarket, Green Hill, whatever, if you just have a spontaneous gathering of neighbors, are they going to need a permit? Because I'm not for government running our daily lives. I think they infringe enough. And I don't want to be a part of people not being able to get together and assemble as long as, it's reasonable, I guess you
I think
should
if
say.
you're having a neighborhood picnic with some friends in the neighborhood, that's a different circumstance than with regard to the intent would be if the neighborhood decided to throw a block party, which is going to close down the street.
Right.
That would be a different circumstance. Then you have impacts onto it. If you're having it in the neighborhood backyard, it's the same thing as you having a picnic within your. So, I think it's going to, there's still going to be some questions about it. I'm not going to say you're never going to get any of these kind of concerns that might ever come up, other unintended consequences of it, but I don't think that's the intent of the ordinance.
Right.
I think it's more like I said, a block party is a lot different than having a family picnic at your house.
Right, I just want people to have the freedom to assemble, regardless. I mean, there are boundaries, but in your opinion, does this language clear up a lot of those unintended consequences? Have we gone far enough to clean it up as much as possible?
I think if you're throwing a party for 100 people in your backyard, Councilman Cottle, you'd fall under the intent under the ordinance. But that's with regard to you personally throwing. If you're getting together with neighbors, I think it's a different circumstance. With regard to the amendments, it's really addressing larger parcels, larger properties within town that are designed to handle a little bit more volume. The other thing would basically be cleaning up any of the issues or concerns with regard to recreational sporting events on a location that's designed for recreational sporting events.
And I guess if citizens like this unintended consequence was brought to our attention in the future, we could always go back and amend it if we find there's more issues, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I have a follow-up, sir?
Absolutely.
How does this relate to our plans in moving ahead with the Harrover property? If Battlefield High School, their archery team, which they're going to start up, if their archery team wants to get together with 75 of their kids and families at the Harrover property, would they need a permit?
Your amendment A would actually cover that. because it's at a local government agency, even though they're not the ones doing it. The school system is part of a government agency, state, federal, state, local. So, no, it would also, the site itself would meet 3 acres qualification. And it would have when we go through that process, we'll have the design and entrance that meet state standards. So the current entrances there are grandfathered. If we go to construct something, we would have to meet state standards of new construction as the entranceway is onto a state maintained street.
Then provided we amend this tonight, the people that brought these issues to our attention, they'll be clearly communicated with as soon as possible, right?
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Morris.
Yes.
Woods. Aye. Cottle.
Yes.
Passanello.
Aye.
Aiken.
Yes.
All right, great. Our next item is our meals tax holiday on our agenda item. That is page 65 in our packet here. We have a draft motion as well.
I'll make a motion that we adopt an ordinance to waive meals tax on September 19th through 20th, 2015, ordinance number 2015-009 as in our packet.
Is that a Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday?
We have a motion on the floor and seconded. The only thing I'd want to just make sure, do we need to point out what the section number? As the attorney, it looks like we had section number 42-186 of the Code of Ordinances. Would that need to be maybe added to the motion? Yeah, I guess, Vice Mayor, would you amend?
I'll amend my motion to add, as set by Section 42-186 of the Code of Ordinances, Town of Haymarket, Virginia, 2014, as amended relating to food and beverages.
Great. And second. Discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Morris.
Yes.
Woods. Aye. Cottle.
Yes.
Passanello.
Aye.
Aiken.
Yes.
Great. Next item on our agenda is our fiscal impact policy, and that's page 78 in our packet.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Many of you may have listened in on the conversation with the Planning Commission over the last several months. Quick summary of what this means. When the rezoning comes in, and you'll see this a lot in Prince William County, especially with residential rezoning. Most jurisdictions assess or try to evaluate what the impact of new residential development will be. We had a policy that tried to assess the impact on fire rescue, government services, parks and rec, transportation. We had that originally, we came up with a policy in 2006. The Sherwood Forest, Alexander's Keep, townhouses that are down there. We received proffer monies more or less from that development to help offset some of our costs. Become a little more sophisticated. Our rezoning is a little more complicated in the interim since 2006. We do have 2 rezonings pending, one for Robinson's Paradise north of town and also the Fairgrounds property. So it became necessary to go ahead and officially put together an analysis of what financial impact of residents, new residents, are on the town. And as you'll see in there, it's basically a formula based on our population, what we estimate to be how many people that reside in the different types of housing units, and it estimates what that cost will be. It does assess a value or an amount on fire rescue in schools. That was a little bit of a interesting discussion, given the fact that we don't otherwise provide those public services. The county does. We took the CIP, a capital improvements program, many of those funded items, and translated that into this document. So essentially, both the two developments I referenced, I will be handing them this document saying, this is our assessment of what the impact of your project's going to be. You can either take it for what it is and agree or agree with the assessment of what that impact, or you can defend the position why a different dollar amount, maybe more or less. This was worked out. There were some recent court cases that gave us pause. We had the town attorney look this document over. We're providing this to you as an information item. I'm basically announcing to you formally that this is what I will be using, and this will be updated on an annual basis in terms of what I provide rezoning applicants in order to assess their fiscal impact on the town. And wanted to get your feedback tonight in case you have any questions about that policy. Make any amendments if you have any recommendations. Otherwise, again, this is an information item that I'll move forward with.
So if we do nothing and don't get back to you, you're going to move forward with this anyway?
Yes, if I don't receive feedback from you, then this will be the document I
So this
continue
is not something we have to approve,
No,
but
sir.
you will take our comments?
Correct. I meant it as an information item with comment.
All right.
Okay. That was one of my questions. What was the action on this? So,
Sorry.
do you want
Labeled it
comments
information
now?
item.
Or do you want comments now, or you have questions now, or?
Questions, you have general comments or concerns right now, I can do my best to answer.
Okay. I do have one general, but I have a whole bunch of little comments. But, I mean, I thought it was very good. The calculations look fine, maybe a couple of tweaks. But I'm curious, I know we have our own public safety department here in town, but we're also supplemented, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, by PWC PD. And I was just wondering why that wasn't included in the calculation, or some prorated number for that. Just curious.
So on page 85,
Okay.
we did attempt to assess on the capital,
Right.
our capital list.
Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
But we did not do a separate analysis in terms of the reciprocal, is it reciprocal, what's the right term, or our agreements? Mutual aid agreements?
Right.
Reciprocal.
So,
I'm not sure if it's a large number, but I'm just wondering if it would impact the analysis at all.
I can look into that and let you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And if it does, we can provide you a recommendation on how to address it.
Because I would think it might undercount, if I'm not mistaken. If I did the math right. And then there was another thing about that quiet zone. When you looked at transportation on page 84,
Yes, sir.
we're not really sure that that's going to be a number that's stable. Might be a lot less than that, so I don't know if that impacts it at all or not. But we might have to take another look at that once we have more information.
Understood. And this is also a somewhat fluid document.
Right.
It'll be updated yearly, and that's one of those items where when a developer comes in and estimates it, if that's a variable, that will affect the overall cost, and we'll plug the numbers in and reevaluate.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Woods.
On the numbers for Parks and Recreation, the number for Hanover property seems really large in comparison to the rest of the numbers. Is that based on, because I know that in the planning documents, the Hanover property is still planned to be the new town center, basically. Is that where this number comes from, or is
$6
this?
million came with the highest estimate of the three alternatives that you're considering.
Okay.
And again, the point where someone would put these monies in, we would adjust it accordingly.
Okay.
These are our ballpark estimates from our capital improvements program.
I actually do have one more question.
Sure.
Sorry, Marchand, to put you on the spot, but relative to the town administration on page 86, how do we factor in, or do we factor in the master plan for this building for improvements?
That came in under Parks and Recreation, Town Center property,
Page
85.
page 85.
Okay, very good. All right. Thank you. I missed it.
No, I do need to add one caveat. We would need to, at some point, develop a relationship or some sort of formal agreement with the county if we're going to accept funds on their behalf, and they are to receive them. There needs to be some sort of formal agreement that allows it to do so. There was some issue with if monies is dedicated through a proffer to schools in the area, and that money goes into the general fund of the schools, that's not necessarily reallocated to those reallocated to schools that serve just the town. Those would be go to the county overall. So there's one way through the proffer statement that goes with the rezoning that we could isolate or direct where those monies would be limited to. Those schools that serve Haymarket residents, those types of things. So this is a good tool to have. I appreciate you guys considering it.
That would also go for the fire stations that serve Haymarket?
Exactly. So, now, I got to figure out what this does to our sharing that we talked about earlier. But again, this is used for a baseline document.
Great.
Marshall,
Thank you, Marshall.
I did have a question. Guy Gravitt, were there any concerns that he had regarding this, and how were they addressed? And
I've encouraged him several times to approach the council. I think in his mind, he'd rather you first weigh in on his project. I think his overall concern is he feels most of that money should stay in the town. That should not be redistributed to the county. In my mind, it's saving face if we're generating through residential rezoning students. And yes, we're paying taxes, but we're indirectly causing more of an issue of student generation or students in schools. We should have that relationship. We should be working with the county to make sure that we're all on the same page. Hopefully that answered your question. So I think his more was the dollar amounts. He was somewhat concerned that maybe it would, a lot of these costs are pass-through costs, would it drive up the cost of the development. But again, what I said to him was, this is something that's simply our analysis. If you feel it's not appropriate, make your case for us to consider, and we'll decide whether or not on its merits it's worth a lower dollar amount.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah, I want to thank you for your work. I know the Planning Commission spent a lot of time considering this too, and I think this document's long overdue, and I think it's pretty encompassing. So thanks.
we are kind of leading the way. I think we're one of the first jurisdictions to take this approach in terms of providing an analysis rather than a guideline. So hopefully we'll copycat, or greatest form of flattery is imitation. So maybe we'll start seeing this show up in other jurisdictions. So, thank you, Mr.
That's good.
Mayor.
Okay.
I did want to ask, the Hanover presentation is going to take a little while. We have three gentlemen here from the lodge. Is it okay to move that item up?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
If there wasn't any more discussion on the fiscal.
Sure. Nope. We'll go to item number F there on our packet, which is page 95.
Mr. Mayor, if I could tee this up for you quickly. Market Charitable Foundation, at least the time that I've been here, is they own several properties. They own the Masonic Lodge. They own the residence just to the south along Jefferson Street. They also own, I call it the barn, but if you're on Madison Street and you go past the Verizon complex, behind that is actually a barn that the lodge used for a long time as part of the, I think it's an office and storage and other functions as part of the lodge. They subdivided off that property, and they've been looking for a tenant to put into that structure. Did work with them earlier this year when they started renovations. We do have a site plan requirement that really encompasses addressing parking, landscaping, lighting, and the like. They have completed the interior renovations. The site plan is working its way through the process. The new tenant or potential tenant you met earlier tonight, you would like to get in there as a retail use. So they're asking tonight to allow a temporary occupancy of that building. That would be from the building inspector while the site plan makes its way through the process. The council has done something like this before with the Sportsplex, John Lombardozzi's project. He had some issue with the requirement for him to do a site plan at all. And we're continuing to try to finish that discussion so that Next Level Fitness can get their final occupancy permit. In my discussions with the lodge, I'm comfortable that they will commit and follow through, get the site plan done, get any improvements that need to be done completed, and get their final occupancy. Also, with the development of the firehouse, the lodge, the old bank building, we want to use this as an opportunity maybe to reach out to them and come up with a more consolidated approach. Their site plan also looks at, hopefully they're not over there kicking me, but want to open the dialogue to try to see if we can figure out some way that all those properties can work together in terms of access and parking and the like. So if you were to support their temporary occupancy, you would probably want to ensure that all the building inspections are met, that they diligently pursue the site plan, and that any improvements by the site plan be installed prior to the final occupancy permit by the building official. So I did speak with Joe Barbo. They're ready to go. The interior renovations are done. He's just waiting for me or the council to say whether or not this gentleman can, I forgot your first name, I'm sorry. Brett can move in. So with your consent, they would be able to open and be ready for business by Haymarket Day. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Do you have a draft?
This is what we're having. We had the work session, so I wanted to first get your input. Numbers on Zoom, but those would be the three basic. The last time you approved it was building official approval, diligently approve a site plan, have all your improvements in before the final occupancy is issued.
Okay. This is for the council to look at and decide if want to move forward as far as tonight on this.
Well, I think
recommendation.
I think we've heard a recommendation that you think it's a good idea to go forward, and that they're moving forward in good faith on the site plan. So I've heard nothing but good stuff about tobaccology. I've done my research with some folks outside of town. Nothing but good stuff, responsible, and very good at drawing business. So I would be very happy to move forward with this.
There's always a risk. You know, if I have no doubt at this point that they will not follow through, but if they don't, it becomes an enforcement issue, and that does put either you or future councils in the position of having to enforce any sort of temporary occupancy, and that creates an issue for the tenant. Hey, I've made my investment, now you're shutting me down. But at the same time, it is an existing structure. They're not expanding it. They're simply dealing with what they have out there today. So,
is it appropriate to add a time limit on this before they'd have to come back, and that it would expire and they'd have to get an extension?
That's certainly within your discretion to do so. I think the last situation had a year.
Is that a reasonable time
I believe so.
for that size of project?
It's actually a fairly project. The issue we're having right now, we've seen an unprecedented amount of site plans coming through, so they're in the queue. But I think a year is more than enough time for them to be able to get through the site planning process. Let us try to see if we can coordinate with some of their property owners. So I think it is appropriate.
So your professional recommendation is you don't see any problem with it?
I think he wants to say.
The potential for problems is low, perhaps?
Nothing's final until the
I'm
keys are
confident
handed
that this
over.
will move through and that they will commit to that. But again, just want to make sure it's clear that there's an enforcement issue should this not happen.
Can I ask a question? If we were to place a percentage on the amount of work that's been done versus the completion, 100%, do we have a sense of where they are in the process?
They're still in the preliminary site plan phase.
Okay. But I'm talking also about for the C of O. Any sense of that, or is that?
I think Joe Barbo has already basically given the go-ahead.
Right.
I think Brett was having to do, put in your, not humidor, but some other basic improvements related to the cigar shop. So, but two gentlemen from the lodge are here.
One of my waste of time.
Doing your job for you?
Thank you very much. I'm Jim Crowd, I'm the president of the foundation, and everything Marshawn said is true. We have devoted about $75,000 right now to not only the site plan but the improvements inside. Our part is done. Mr. Fry he's not putting in. He's having the lockers and the humidor constructed, and Mr. Barbo wants to make sure that there's no obstructions, fire, or what have you, in that building when this is installed, which is not an issue. Quite frankly, the way the thing's laid out, you really couldn't do it. We have made all this investment, and you can rest assured the foundation, which is a charitable foundation, incidentally, we received a seed money back in, I want to say, 90-ish, from a gentleman here who passed away, and all we do is give money away, frankly, and we need the revenue to get that money back in, and so that's how we intend to continue the charitable foundation. And so the building has been languishing here for about 17 years. As Marshawn said, it was used for storage, initially designed for a for the foundation. And I guess had it not been for being grandfathered, it would have just been a wash, but we were considered unoccupied or abandoned, I believe. And so we had to go through the process. So all the site plan is into the town, and we're just waiting to go. And I understand what he has said. Quite frankly, you've been burned before. We've been here 101 years, so we're not going anywhere. We want to be good neighbors, and I feel that you can take us at our word that we're not going to stick it.
Okay. All right, appreciate that.
So just a couple more questions. So the critical path then is the site plan? That's the critical path?
Yes, sir, by the ordinance, because they're changing the use of the building, they have to go through the site plan process.
Right. And what would be a timeline on that site plan to be completed now? Because
Probably by around the turn of the year.
Okay. Okay.
Incidentally, at the request of Chief Smith, that gate we have between Jefferson and Madison, that will be open for access during Haymarket days too. So we do that every year, so you don't get jammed up.
And just one more
So I
question.
can get out of my house.
Is the site plan dependent on anybody else? Is it just through the foundation, or is the foundation dependent on other businesses in the area?
I know this is the site plan, they turn the site plan in. Holly and I review it. At some point, VDOT looks at it, Sanitation Authority, but they're the applicant for the applications.
Okay, thank you.
And just one last question, Mr. James. If we institute that 1-year stipulation, is that fair?
It's fair in my mind, but he said that will be, the site plan will probably be at the beginning of the year, so I would think that's totally agreeable.
Brian.
Just members of the council, I think the biggest thing is this is actually an issue we're looking at zoning as a whole. We're starting to address these kind of issues, especially here in the core of the downtown Haymarket, if you will, our Main Street buildings and everything as it exists. The big thing to understand about the site plan process is that it's an iterative process. So in other words, like when the first site plan comes in, staff puts out comments. Then it's in the applicant's basket to basically review those comments, either agree with them or explain to them why, And so it's an iterative process. So when we say a year, it should be within that year. But it depends on how well they're talking. The point is like we think this is a good opportunity for the council to to start working and branching out, because we do have some wonderful buildings that we'd love to get back into use right here in the town. There are different reasons why we had for enforcement, but you do still have the key enforcement levels here, and I think the applicant's very well aware that this is a process that they got to go through as well. So I think everybody's working towards the same goal is what I'm trying to explain, and that we're working at the bigger picture with how it's related in the zoning ordinance to begin with.
Can any work be done whilst the site plan is being reviewed?
That's what's being done now, the interior renovations, and get them up and running.
This allows them to open.
Councilman Colvin, to answer your question directly, in this situation, given the variables, I think you're okay.
Good.
And that if similar people want to come in and ask for different exceptions, those will be different cases in each situation.
I mean, I know some people who work there in the Manassas. I've heard nothing but good things. It's a building that could help our town, get people in here. So if you're comfortable with it, I would second what Joe said, Councilman Pastanel, so I'm good with it.
I think what we need, Marshawn, is a draft motion that would cover the town, and that, we could take a brief recess, or
Sure,
we can move
I can do
to.
that for you if you give me 5
Well, we
minutes.
can move on with other things.
Well,
or-
actually, I think, I think we need a brief recess if we can
Oh,
take.
okay. I can go for
We'll be
that.
back in 5 minutes.
That's enough time for you.
Great.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you. All right, we'll come back into session here. We have a draft motion now in front of us that I think for the council to consider.
I'd like to Move it. Go for it. Yep. You want to move?
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, is it me?
Yeah. We were just going to make a move on your motion, on our motion, I mean.
This is language borrowed from the other example, signature companies. And the town attorney reviewed it over my shoulder while I was writing. So, and it's for your use.
Okay. Councilman Morse.
Thank you, sir. I move that the town council approve a temporary occupancy permit to Haymarket Charitable Foundation for 900 square feet of commercial retail use at 6710 Madison Street, expressly conditioned upon the following. A, temporary occupancy will not be permitted by the building official, and a zoning permit will not be issued by the zoning administrator until building official requirements for tenant upfit under are fully implemented and compliant with an approved building permit. B, approval of a site plan to accommodate the area of temporary occupancy shall be diligently pursued by the property owner. C, construction of the site improvements required by the final site plan shall be completed by September 8th, 2016. An occupancy permit for the retail use will be issued by the building official upon completion of the required site improvements. Failure of the property owner to complete the required site improvements within the timeline prescribed above will result in the revocation of the temporary occupancy permit, and a zoning violation notice will be issued to the property owner and tenant.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor and seconded. We have one, I think, area here. Go ahead.
I think, Marshawn, in A, the word under maybe needs just a strike through. That was just a
Yes,
typo.
that was a typo, sorry.
Yeah.
Great, so we'll take the under off there, and that's agreeable.
Yes, sir.
Motion and the second?
Yep.
All right. Discussion on the motion?
Mr. Mayor, I think this is a great idea. It shows our flexibility as a town council, and I'm going to vote yes.
All right. Any other discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Morris.
Yes.
Woods.
Aye.
Cottle.
Yes.
Casanello.
Aye.
Bacon.
Yes. Great. All right, super. All right, thank you, Marshawn, on that.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck. Mayor, I need a couple seconds to set up the hair over.
Sure,
If there's something else you want to
absolutely.
deal with.
We might be able to do our Dominion Virginia Power update. Councilman Passanello, not necessarily any of the other council members aware, we did have an update from the County Board of Supervisors. Chairman Stewart's office, I think, wrote a letter, and,
Let me see if I can find it.
okay.
I know it's in my mess here. Okay, well, Marshawn's doing that. It looks like everybody got the letter from Bob Marshall, right? August 28th? Okay. Just to update, on September 2nd, Corey Stewart, Prince William County Board of County Supervisors, sent a letter to Dominion Virginia Power, and basically, I want to read it because I think it's important that everybody understand it. During the August 4th Prince William County Board of Supervisors meeting, I made a directive to staff to draft a letter to be sent to the State Corporation Commission informing them that the BOCS, and this is very important, the BOCS has every intention of defending any county property, even if Dominion attempted to take it through eminent domain. I am informing you of this because I would like to give you notice before you file your application with the SCC that the Prince William BOCS plans to vigorously defend the open space easement that would be impacted by the proposed railroad route. In Dominion Power's most recent update of studied routes, Dominion removed several other possible routes for a multitude of reasons, which included historic and government property. Stated another way, Dominion took other routes off the proposed filing precisely because these routes implicated government properties and/or properties subject to easements. But it did not remove the railroad route, which includes property subject to an open space easement granted by the owner to the Board of County Supervisors. The Prince William Board of County Supervisors would like to urge Dominion to remove this as a possible route prior to submitting your application with the SCC. I would also like to reiterate our stance on the proposed Haymarket 230 kV line and substation project, that the only route that the Prince William BOCS supports is the I-66 hybrid alternative. Thank you for your attention in this matter. I think it's pretty
great.
clear.
Yeah.
Straight to the point, direct, bam.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thanks for reading.
Yep.
All right. Rashawn, are you ready, or do we want to grab something else?
Like dinner?
I'll add this to my gigantic binder.
Yes. Most of it. The top part.
Take one.
Thank you. How many of these do we need?
One.
Okay, now there's always a risk in passing out PowerPoints because everyone looks at them and not the person presenting. Jen, do we still have the microphone? I'm sorry. Did I lose the microphone? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
Which one?
Where'd my,
Mine's
The
the
grass
seventh
that needs
house
cut.
down. No, I
I lost
cut the
my,
town's property, I'm gonna be submitting a bill to.
Really, Mr. Servant?
I got it. Sorry. I do know what I'm doing.
Oh, wow.
Not to make an amendment.
Okay. Are we ready now? And Jen, you can hear me on this? We had hoped with the work session to have a lot of this. So once we get through this, if you feel that you need more discussion, we can certainly accommodate that. So many of you have been part of the master plan study over the last several months. Tonight we're presenting to you the staff summary of the committee discussions and kind of an update as to where we are. Okay. This is the approach provided to us by the consultant. Multiple point process. You can see where we are now, preparing the preferred master plan, program, budget, phasing, and funding options. Basically, all the preceding bullets are in your Bible. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that, but in your hair-over binder.
Thank you.
So all the previous, rezonings that were proposed for the property, anything you could possibly want to know about the previous discussions, excerpts from our plans, what the stakeholders said specific to this master planning process, all sorts of interesting information, previous public hearings on uses on the site. So this was used in part to put together many of these recommendations. So what we really need for you this evening, first go put through the background and the sketch plans, go through the committee comments, staff recommendation, council discussion, direction. Again, given the time, you may want to delay this further and then talk about the next steps. So just to recap, this was the elevation sheet. It doesn't look very good on this graphic. But again, noting the existing property conditions, Washington Street, the topography on the property, and the high points that surrounds. You'll notice the existing houses and villages at Haymarket, and then there are actually proposed lots, 5 lots under, also being developed by Mike Gorman, who developed villages at Haymarket. He has submitted plans to begin construction of those 5 homes. But again, kind of hints to you the elevation. Okay. One of the challenges are lots wide, the lots deep, and has a change in elevation. So that what the consultant come up with is kind of the three zones. The Washington Street zone, which is forward of the Lewis homes, the Hilltop zone, and then more of the neighborhood zone, which is more adjacent to the property. The area you see in green around the perimeter, this was a condition by the developer of these 5 lots that they have to come in and put a heavy vegetative screen as part of the development of their site. So that will screen those 2 residential developments. So again, kind of describing the nature of what they're having to do with. A little over 4 acres. Okay?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Can you define what that screen would be? It's not a fence, it's natural vegetation.
Natural
correct?
vegetation. So, because I know you're a resident, when you bought your home,
Correct.
there originally was a 10-foot buffer yard in your backyard.
Correct.
And in that was supposed to be evergreens, deciduous trees, all the like. But if you walked out of your basement, you'd be in that
Yeah, I see the
vegetative buffer.
junk stacked out on the back porch.
Exactly.
Although
So,
it's been cleaned up a lot, thank you.
but the idea of
I get
the discussion when we talked to Mr. Gorman had to come in with a subdivision for the 5 lots. And what came out of it was really your screening didn't work very well, both on this side and also on the far side against my development. So the compromise was he was going to provide additional screening along the perimeter of the property to make up for the fact that the original screening by his original subdivision didn't do a very good job of what it was supposed to
Well,
do.
he didn't do anything.
Correct.
So.
Well,
it's
either we
not-
didn't see it or it was taken out or what have you, but it didn't work.
Well, it
meet
didn't
the-
work, because anything there is what's been there for the last 25 years.
Exactly. So that came up as part of the subdivision, and that was the negotiated term for this buffer, which is a 10-foot yard on the inside of the town boundary. It'd be a combination of evergreen trees, deciduous trees, and shrubs. And that's required.
Just to clarify, the buffer is on the town property and not on
Correct.
his property.
You physically couldn't put it on those lots behind because of what I described, because the backyards are so narrow and so shallow, they couldn't provide it, so this was a way to address that issue.
So the town's basically, what, proffering 10 feet?
Yeah, the town agreed that they could come in, this gentleman could come in and plant that to provide that screen around the perimeter. They pay for all the plantings, but we would accept the responsibility for maintaining those trees.
Okay.
And this was before we had gone through this master planning exercise. So. Okay, just real quick, the Hariba property was actually part of a larger 20-acre parcel that the Jordan family owned. You may know Jordan was one of the early mercantile companies in town. We've already talked about the 2 models of the Lewis homes being catalog homes. And then just the property and its structures are indicative of the more agrarian development patterns we had back in the 20s and 30s. Okay. This is just more of the layout of the building. Okay, so in your packet, PowerPoint, and also in the packet of materials I gave you, this was the original comparison that the consultant came up with. And it was generally organized in elements: concept, themes, disposition of Lewis homes, vehicle environment, pedestrian environment, special activity, partnership potential, early projects, conceptual budgets. So in varying degrees of A to B, you see A was more of a focus on parks. I believe the title of it was the Central Park Gardens and Outdoor Areas. So you had a central pavilion of 3,500 square feet out front, an amphitheater tied to it, 2,500 square foot playground, pedestrian trails throughout, some parking, 2 entrances, a sculpture garden of sorts in between the 2 Lewis homes. Lewis homes are to be repurposed for any range of activities that the town sees fit, and then more of a passive park in the back up against the Villages of Haymarket homes. The alternative B moved to a more formal community center. You see in the middle, 7,000 square feet of a building, pool, focus on parking toward the street, single entrance, perimeter trails. This moved what is, I guess, formerly the police station, moved that Lewis home off the hilltop next to where the food pantry is now located, and again, kept more of a passive park to the rear. The third jumps to the third alternative. Again, perimeter trails. This was more heavily focused on a larger scale community center. In this one, this was a 7,000 square foot facility. This was 6,500, which could be like a pool or some other community facility. This was a far more larger scale community center, 16,000 square feet, predominantly eating up parking along Washington Street, single entrance, and gazebo, and where the pantry would go. So, and again, each one highlighted partnership potential early projects that would be part of your phasing. I'll probably argue the tree limbing that we already did was a potential early project. Then they go through the conceptual budgets. What I would note is that in the two situations where the Lewis homes are involved, it's a fraction of the overall cost of what the rest of the property. So these are kind of de minimis in the overall program that you see with the three. Now in this in the third example, both Lewis homes are moved off-site or demolished or whatever options, which there's plenty. Here it includes maybe moving the one structure to another location, and then this one it retains them in place. So, any questions on any of the programs between the two? Or three? Excuse me.
Did you have any itemized cost in moving one of the Lewis homes, as in option B?
Correct. In the larger binder, there was an estimate they originally did. I believe it was to go in place was between the two of them was between 140 and 160, less on the food pantry on the police station. To move them was almost double the cost, and demolition was about $40,000 for either one.
So was it 40,000? Sorry, demo, 160.
If we wanted to renovate the police station, more than that, over 200 if you wanted to pick it up and move it.
144 renovate food pantry.
Correct. It's in one of the tabs, I think. In the,
Okay.
So, but again, more of the focus, I believe, in a lot of these plans was a larger programmatic element. So, okay, moving quickly.
I'm sorry. Did you have a question?
Yeah, but I think that this answers it, so it's fine.
What's that?
I was just wondering about the planned uses for the two buildings if they are kept in those two, but it mentions that here on the plans.
It does. It's in the summary table, and then each in your packets, each one of these was behind.
Yes.
Each one of the behind this summary comparison. So again, kind of intensity of scale. This is more of a park-oriented sort of facility, and then you gradually go up in scale in terms of the types of facilities that are being provided. More of a focus on facility rather than open space, and you can see that by the various parking scenarios. So, and again, this was based on the stakeholder input that they had conducted in April or March, and all the information that was put together in the various sections of the binder.
Sorry, I do have one more quick question. It doesn't look like the streetscape project was kind of included in any of these. Is there a
Is
reason
that
for
actually
that?
goes all the way to the street?
It is.
Oh.
Is it just so small that I'm not seeing it?
It's yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's not. That was part of it. Part of it was we talk about pedestrian environment, linkages to sidewalks, potential off-site links, site furnishings and signage. So that was all encapsulated, and also extending the
So
streetscape.
it's just that little orange strip there at the bottom.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, graphically, probably more correctly shown with the strip, grass strip, light poles, benches, and the like.
Did any of the three concepts show like to be able to use the shared parking, say with Baptist Church? To like egress or going over? Or no? Or no consideration was given for that?
There wasn't a scenario that involved that. That's a good point. The majority of the low point where that would happen, because it's a low point of property, all plans look at some sort of rain garden or LID facility. But again, we're still kind of at the concept level, so that's certainly, and we're going to go in this later where I left little tabs for you to fill in. That's certainly an idea we would want to forward, saying whatever plan you ultimately endorse, having some sort of connection
Connectivity.
to the Baptist Church. We did try to get a pedestrian connection through these lots to Blight, but the developer wasn't agreeable to that.
Really?
There is one today that comes in from Villages. Is that next to you?
And there's no buffer that goes on the back side of that, or the right corner there? Or
Right here?
Right corner. Right, there you go.
Yes. You'll see the red line that goes here around the perimeter. That deals with the areas, general areas of landscaping and buffering of the adjacent properties.
So is the 5 houses, 4 or 5 houses, they're going to do their own buffer as well? That's going to be a requirement along the
Correct.
light? So
They're going to do their own screening.
There'll be 2 buffers?
Yes, sir.
I do have a question about this, but I think the mayor's onto a good idea. I mean, we've talked about shared parking in our plan, so that's something we should certainly look at, I would think. As far as this menu of options, it almost looks like, do we have, and I didn't get through the binder, I'll be honest, are there costs associated with each item?
So when you go back to there is initial costs in the binder, more specific to, costs in the binder more specific to the homes. These do not, when you get these refined budgets,
Right.
when you get the refined plan, it'll have more of a line item of each of the program costs.
Okay. And what year of dollars are we doing this in, do you know?
That would be with your discretion. I think right now we have about 600 earmarked over the next 5 years.
No, the assumptions and the estimates are in what, 2014 dollars, 2015? Do we have any idea about that?
When Barry puts it together, it's probably going to, since 2015, it'll likely be $2015. Okay, so we've gone through each of the kind of the programmatic. What I forgot to mention here is repurposing the Lewis homes here, but we have a kind of a hilltop gazebo. It focuses more on the highest point. Okay. General consensus was support for alternative A, and that was primarily based on what they considered Haymarket scaled. More of a small town, more of the park focus, more meant to serve local populations. Certainly wouldn't preclude other folks outside Haymarket proper, but more of what they felt was conducive to what the town environment currently yields to versus a heavily commercial-centered project.
And was there a preference between the ARB or the PC for the homes?
I'm going to get there.
Okay, gotcha.
Many of them offer new program ideas, and again, I'll show you where that is in your packet. They were on opposite ends of the repurposing of the homes. ARB, per their charge, and they gave a more detailed explanation in the packet, but kind of prioritized. First preference being both in place and then staging it down. PC felt that there was more opportunities if both buildings were removed, but there was a consensus that at least considering a concept that repurposed one of the homes, but again, generally opposing issues specific to the Lewis homes being used on the property. Okay? So taking all of this that I've observed so far, the input, the binder, all the discussions, one of the things that guides my recommendation of what your plan currently says today, and if you can belabor this for a second, community design. That's the community we're trying to derive. Community design plan must meet a balance of meeting future and current needs, saving and restoring historic structures, which I have some commentary on, and allowing homeowners and businesses enough latitude to enhance their properties, all while creating and preserving the flavor of Haymarket. And one of the things a local photographer did was take snapshots of all the buildings in Haymarket. So some are ugly, some are utilitarian, but if you drive through Dominion Valley or any other place, you don't have the flavor of all the different architectural styles. That being said, when you go into Hairover specifically, it is designated in the long-range land use plan as public and civic use, meant to do twofold. Now, mind you, at the time, we were moving our whole town center down there. It was meant to be a community center to meet the social needs and then the recreational needs of the community. The Lewis homes themselves were considered contributing resources in the town's historic district, and then use of the Lewis homes as part of whatever ultimate decision you make was anticipated by the plan. Now, on all the discussions that I've participated in, there seems to be a lot of rest on what does saving and restoring mean. I think it was intended more of a not tie yourself to the buildings at all costs sort of thing. It was more of trying to adaptively reuse those structures. So when we think about Pace West, Dr. Payne's house, Red House Ordinary, our two houses on either side, it's more of not preserving and saving at all costs. It's more of how do we reuse these buildings, still contribute to the flavor of Haymarket, and meet all the needs of the community. So what I'm preparing to recommend to the council is that you take or you support alternative A with and incorporate several elements from B. First, we're moving or creating on the hilltop more of a program space. In this one, you had a pavilion and you had an amphitheater. By moving the police station off the top of the property, you now allow for more space to maybe independently show these sorts of things. Opens up the hilltop, creates more of a buffer between these houses here and houses here, more by the, partly by the landscape buffer we already talked about, but you're physically moving some of the hard structures over to the side. So again, moving this hilltop concept to alternative A in place of the police station. Now, what happens to the police station? You have all kinds of options. You can move it as part of the concept here. You could auction it. You could dismantle it. There's a series of things you can do with any of those buildings that are on the property. Next, in this general location, just reserving it as some sort of future or existing, not existing, but some sort of future community meeting space in this location. This is the logical location, I feel, for any sort of service. If you think about Fauquier Park where we had the picnic, there's restrooms there, small little restrooms, little vending facility, those types of things. This is centrally located. It's on the slope. So just generally reserving that area, and that allows you to move forward with your concept, but then come back and refine what that facility would be based on budget dollars or other considerations. And so that would either be developing that facility as adaptive reuse. And again, we're being deliberate about the change in language, not saving, trying to reuse that facility and repurposing the homes, either police station in this location or moving it somewhere else. Okay? A couple of things that does. I keep saying the Lewis homes aren't the focus yet. Conversation seems to focus on that. Again, promoting this alternative of creating some sort of program up on the hilltop. Again, we talked about open spaces on the perimeter next to residential. Also explore some ideas. In the summaries you have, each group had some other ideas on what to do. Do you allow opportunities to market? It's kind of cool that we have a Lewis home. We've never really capitalized on that. So is there opportunities to do interpretive signage or some sorts of other activities centered around that facility? As I said before, maybe moving the pavilion or other amphitheater to the top of the hill and creating more wide open spaces. And then the other recommendation that came out was a single entrance. You see two entrances here, but moving to a single entrance opposing
Coach.
Okay. Or the community, Haymarket Station. There you go. Okay, so we kind of gave a cheat sheet for you. The first one you see is color-coded, the preference. So went through those elements that ARB and PC supported or did not support. Generally, you see it favors around alternative A. Gave a block for the town council if you wanted to go through and make your highlights. And again, either tonight or maybe as part of a work session. Each group, and I broke this out by the programs, that summary table you have, we broke them down by each of the elements. You have what the Architecture Review Board said, you have what the Planning Commission said for each of those elements or programs. So once we get the feedback from the council on which way to go, again, they're going to move into the preferred master plan, program, budget, phasing, and funding options, presentation in a joint meeting before you and the Planning Commission, and then submit the final document, and then you'll use that to go ahead and start your phasing, budgeting, and the like. So.
When you say phasing, they would potentially give us 4 phases that could be done at different years as funding became available, so that it'd be useful in between those phases?
I think it's going to be set up in such a way that you could determine, okay, here's our master plan, here are the cost estimates of each. What is our priorities in terms of programmatic types? Is it the pavilion? Is it the playground? Is it sidewalks? We determine based on the budget and our priorities how to phase it out.
But some of them work better if they come before something else.
Correct. And we can ask Barry if that's part of it. I assume with the phasing, they'll have some recommendations on how to do it. So, okay?
Other question, Marchant, the staff recommendation, so the staff would comprise of yourself, Brian obviously had input, Jennifer, I would assume as well, and
I'm your town planner, I'm your zoning administrator.
Right.
I'm your land use person. So based on the land use, this is what I've recommended as part of that. So
Okay.
I'm sorry, I call myself staff.
Okay.
I should staffer, maybe I should say singular. I have talked with Brian about it, talked with Jen over time about it, talked to others about it. But
Okay.
this was, the recommendation is more of a pragmatic approach. I think it leads us to set an example where we can be realistic about, the town can't hold on to all its historic resources. I think the plan also eliminates some precedent. In other words, I do have concerns that if we were to dismantle or remove or do both buildings from the site, it is going to be somewhat problematic when people come to reuse some of these buildings in town and say, well, council, what was your justification when you had properties that are in fairly good shape? What was your justification for not vetting that? So I think the alternative allows you to isolate a programmatic element on the property, and whether it's a house or it's some new facility, you've at least identified on your plan, allows you to phase it, allows you to plan it, and then you can come back later and decide for sure whether or not you want to relocate both houses in that location, remove them, do something else with them. So.
Question, sir. Why would the smaller food pantry house in alternate B be the more logical one to keep and then move the police station?
This one was trying to keep both in sight. This is on a hill.
Mm-hmm.
This is on the hilltop. So the idea would be for programmatic, and again, there's other open space elements. It would be
To
easier
free
do
up
that.
the hilltop.
Correct. Because this is hard to use because of the slope that's out there.
And just a follow-up question: could we, if the council voted on removing the police, the old police station, could we reuse that material in some way in building, maybe it's a meeting room or something that we decide on to look like the Lewis building?
I figured if we're doing a playground or a pavilion, you could use elements of that house and the structure. You could reuse the stone as part of the foundation. When we're sitting out at Flock here, I'm thinking, what if you took down the whole house and just kept the fireplace and built a pavilion and have that be like an outdoor seating area with fireplace? So I think the preference is to try to lead and set the example on how we repurpose the materials, the building, what have you, versus just simply demolishing it.
There's no doubt that there's a need for bathroom facilities. Mm-hmm. In the opinion of the staff and staffers,
Staffy.
The food pantry building would be the best one suitable for that, compared to the...
Now, in today's condition, obviously not. But there's a whole cottage industry on how to make these buildings do what they're supposed to do. If you look in the binder, Joe Barbo went through and gave some assessments on each one. The fact that it's a single story, the way it was built at the time, I thought the bones are good. So we're thinking more of gutting it, moving there's some additions on there that weren't original, that aren't really usable. Maybe pull those back, open up the floor area. There's some discussion, would you need like dozens of bathrooms? No, it's more of just a simple facility. These programs had, do you do meeting space, small meeting space? Do you do an office space? Do you allow some light vending like we saw out at Fauquier Park? The ARB has some more specific suggestions, like, using it as a community art studio where you can open up the front if people want to come in and showcase local art, or just make it a multi-purpose space. But the bulk of the budget seems to be more of parking. There's recommendations about doing de minimis parking. Engineering costs, that drives up a lot of your overall costs of the project. Sidewalks. How large the facility? Here is only 3,600 square feet. We could probably look at later, how large a facility do you want that to be? Do you want it to be larger, or do you want it to be smaller?
Do you foresee the town hiring someone to manage this property full-time, especially with alternate B having a swimming pool?
That was a consideration that the commission had, was that what additional costs that were we incurring? And that was part of the, I forgot which topic it was, potential partnerships. Did we want to partner with the county and others and those types of things? Once this becomes a government center, in those types of areas, we have, most of the time when people come in and use this space over the weekend, they get a code, and it's more of cleaning. I just forgot his name. Thomas comes in and cleans over the weekend. So with these plans, and this was, again, what PC supported, less overall maintenance other than the structures. You didn't have to provide necessarily dedicated staffing compared to some of these larger facilities that are out here. I'm sorry I'm dancing.
So as far as the PC is concerned, when they looked at alternate A, they didn't think there was a need for a full-time person there.
We didn't go, they recommended that we not have, limit as much as possible the amount of staffing necessary to support this concept. But those, again, once you go into phasing and budgeting, that'll direct, how large, if we wanted to do a service facility, how hard that was. How complicated a playground do you want? Do you want one of these huge playgrounds that cost a lot of cost and maintenance with a rubberized mulch, or do we want a smaller one here? I think the general concept here was supported that it would be larger.
I think we were pretty unanimous on the Planning Commission, a lot of elements. I think we weren't, as I recall, I have to go back and look at my notes, we really weren't enamored with any of the three, because if you look at it, it's just, it was a Planning Commission's idea, it was just too built out. We want more green space, and if you look, there's a lot of parking, there's a lot of busyness to each one, where if you want to go out and throw a Frisbee with your son or daughter, there really was no room to do it. Parking, we didn't, in alternative C, the focus for the I is your parking lot. So there were just, the Planning Commission was simple as more. And we spent a lot of time, we've talked about this a lot, about, you build something, and then if you have a swimming pool, it's high cost, it's high maintenance, it's more staff. So not only do you have to build it, then you're driving up all your expenses. So what we were looking for something that was simple, that the town could use, it was low maintenance, and it preserved as much green space as possible. And I'll finish this. We really didn't like any of them. We just thought they were too built up.
Did I incorrectly, I guess I didn't say approved it, but general consensus was this was the way to go. Did I say that correctly or no?
Alternative A was if we had to pick one.
You had to pick one of the three.
But we didn't really like that one either.
Okay.
And we did take a tour. Marshall and Joe Barbeau did take a tour. Those homes have really not been maintained. If you go in them, they're all cut up. They could be repurposed. But I think it was the feeling. Marshall was very strong about, let's try to keep at least one. Planning Commission was basically, let's don't keep any, so there's this tug of war. But I do think, we did talk about if we're going to build like the Fauquier where we could use the stones, some of the wood, so we could incorporate, we could preserve some of it. But
I like that idea with just building around the chimney. You still have the structure that's there, and you keep
where I
one.
came up with a recommendation about taking down the hilltop, centralizing the hilltop. These are very dense right here. Now, there's a lot of landscaping around. I think that was more of just emphasizing green space versus the others. So I took on the play of the commission in my recommendation on how to open that up.
Wasn't Sempoetica as a planning commission, we asked for more drawings, something simple. As I recall, we wanted basically scrap those drawings and come up with a more simplified drawing, incorporating the elements of the stakeholders, the planning commission. Where are we at with that?
That's where we are right now. So,
but they haven't drawn them yet.
No, I needed to get your input third. I know you were on the PC, but the deliberate process and the summer schedule is really messing us up. But what we're here now is we're getting your final direction. You're the last group to come before. The next one, presentation of preferred plan supporting documents before the commission and the council. So in this discussion, that's where, if it's the desire of the council, go back, simplify it, include these basic elements, and then they'll come back with the final product for both you and the commission to review.
How much consideration so far has been given to how the site could be used in future events such as Haymarket Day? How the vision for Haymarket Day fits in with the vision for the Harover property and other potential events?
Well, right now, the focus was on the front. The front, anytime we've had Haymarket Days before, we've always set up the out in front. ARB did recommend that any plan do incorporate that. Goes back to the earlier comment. Here, you would have some opportunities or open spaces to host those events, but not as much as you would have today. It would, again, because of the front, the hilltop, the back, this would be the most logical location. So I know I keep going back to it, but that's why we're opening up the hill. Maybe you're to be able to move some of these elements up and then create more open space so you can either recreate or host those events. Parking, if you have any larger events, the shared parking with the church would be a great idea. We're hoping, I think we would hope that through this plan you walk.
Yeah.
Or go over at pace. So.
I have just a couple questions. So just to kind of, Matt was kind of going in the direction of some of my questions. So the baseline for the drawings was tied to the comprehensive plan, and that's why the two properties, the two Lewis homes, were in all the plans.
Not entirely. The stakeholder meetings, that's summaries on the web, and it's in their binder,
Right.
broke out those groups, and they went the gamut. They went from more of this, keep the food pantry, keep the buildings in place,
Right.
all the way up to a regional facility. So this
Right.
was a way to conceptualize kind of the extremes of that discussion.
So are you saying going forward, if we wanted to have drawings without the two buildings on there, I mean, that could be done, number one. And what impact might that have on the space itself and the conceptual designs without the buildings there? Because I don't see anything here other than option C that considers that, so we have something to work off of, in my opinion.
Yeah, this one was, remove
Yeah.
both of them.
Right,
But it
this one was, but then you had some construction in the same area. So it was almost like a tabula rasa, a clean slate, basically. But we don't have a clean slate in alternative A, where we could see how that more central park would look without the two buildings. So I'm just curious what impact that would have on the conceptual planning and designing for that. Or is that something that we could suggest going forward?
Can I add to that, Joe? Is it like could we get a drawing without the police station and the what's it?
pantry?
No, this structure here at the bottom.
Oh, the pavilion?
The pavilion there.
Sure, go like this.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're going. So I did the two tables for you. I did the table with the color coding, basically go down and get the general consensus of it. And then the second one was adding your comments to the two recommendations that are there.
But
if you wanted solely, at this point, I think they're coming with a anticipation from the consultant is that he's going to come back to you with the plan, with refinements, and that'll be the master plan you move forward with. If it's a consensus that the final plan be without it, then that would be the direction that you gave to them. Or if you wanted an alternative, would they need a change order to do an alternative or no?
Yeah, I mean, you would have to, if y'all wanted to see multiple plans, we probably would have to entertain a change order. But I think the biggest thing is what I heard something, I was like, I just want to make sure you all understand. This is all still very conceptual.
Right.
So you all can put anything you want. I mean, I think what Marchant was doing, working with the consultant who actually helped us kind of put this together, right? Is that correct, or is this the same one you did for?
No, Barry helped me put that.
Okay. You really what you're really looking at this point is we're saying we understand the issue about the buildings can be somewhat of a challenge, And so what I think Marchand's recommending is that you basically say, okay, let's not get there yet. Let's address that when we get to the phasing, but let's say, kind of carve out the areas, say this is something we were going to look at the repurposing. Is that correct, Marchand?
Correct. So Barry cautioned me, in his mind, the Lewis homes were kind of the minimus factor, in the sense that what they're looking for is under special activity environment. Do we want to have an open air pavilion and amphitheater? Do we want to have some sort of dedicated meeting or gallery or services admin space? Do we like the wedding pavilion, sculpture garden, those elements? That's what they're really looking for. And part of the recommendation was saying, okay, if there's generally support for some sort of meeting, gallery, or service admin, the most logical place would be in that location, and we can figure out later what that facility would look like or ultimately be. If the consensus of the council is, well, no, we don't feel like we need any sort of dedicated hard structure or facility, then that would be the recommendation, and he would develop a plan that doesn't incorporate that kind of facility.
So I think, too, part of the issue with the Planning Commission and all three of these concepts, there's a lot of maintenance to keep up the grounds. And we have a hard time now keeping up a ground like it is without gardens and trimming. So again, we've discussed this obviously a lot more than the council has, but.
So there again, Marchand, this is a great presentation and stuff like that. I don't see a direction for tonight, obviously. I think that it would be wise for us to absorb this over and read through this book, which we just recently obviously got. Right, and then come back to the next work session and work that out to what the vision would be and pick out the points.
So in the back of there, you'll see we asked him to give the next steps. What he's asking for is clear direction programmatically. What are the key elements? Most, and you'll see in the comments, most are saying playground, pavilion, trails, sidewalks, open space areas.
Criteria.
Yeah, that's your criteria. And again, I know we got sidetracked with Lewis homes, but do you want some sort of dedicated facility? We'll figure it out.
I'm just wondering if the Lewis homes are kind of constraining the creativity in designing something conceptually. Because if they weren't there, perhaps they would do something totally different. I don't know.
Yeah,
but just,
I'm
sorry?
Or maybe even just one.
Right, but I'm just saying, again, if neither one were there, and there, I don't see that other than on the alternative C, perhaps they could come up with something different. I don't know.
I think also to keep the focal point of that highest elevation in Haymarket is something we should really put some consideration.
The other thing we want to be careful of is not spending all of our money on 50 different options and plans and that. So I think council needs to come to a general consensus in the next month or so on what are the most important features we think we want, whether it's one entrance or two, one Lewis home, 0 Lewis homes, 1 or 2, pavilion or not. Those basic concepts, and if we can coalesce around a itemized list of what our most important things are, then we let them come back with a single design that incorporates all of that. And we might tweak it at that point, but we're not asking for 5 different redesigns that we can pick from again.
Right.
Can we have some large sheets of paper and some crayons at the next work session?
You were being serious.
I kind of am.
So I think we need to absorb this, but we need to think about it ourselves and come to the next meeting with what our personal preferences are. For example, right now, without thinking about it too much, my preference would probably be 1 entrance.
Yep.
1 Lewis home, not 2, because we're going to need bathrooms.
And no pool.
No pool.
So something like that, and also the gazebo at the high point. Those sort of things struck me. And then minimalistic
plantings or whatever, like at Fauquier. The
Fauquier's a good
pavilion,
example.
grassy area, some plants around, but not overdone with all the bushes and figures cut into them and all that sort of stuff. More simplistic stuff. Nice, but easier to maintain.
I would ask the council too, I mean, the planning commission's a lot further down the road, obviously, because we've entertained it, but from a resident's standpoint, we've done an awful lot of work behind the scenes that the average citizen knows nothing about. This is something we have a chance to really make an impact, and this has been 15 years in the making, and always seems to get stuck at the very end. I think we really need to make an effort to push through and get something going in a tangible way.
Well, I think for this next work session, we could actually, we'll carve out.
What your final presentation will be, and this is in your packet as well. Study team will provide an overview of the project process, then present the preferred master plan, bird's eye sketch, development program, conceptual budget, and phasing strategy of the council. So where the illustrative, what does it look like?
Right.
And that's what, probably a couple months after we give them the
No,
stuff that
the
they-
consultant's pretty anxious to,
They're ready to go.
he's moved out of state, he's anxious to kind of wrap up the project. So in anticipation of where you make a decision tonight, he was going to try to get back, I think, within a month and start getting that wrapped up for you. So,
Okay.
It's a challenge. And
Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
He wants to wrap this, he's very driven to wrap this up.
Well, remember,
Good.
our council meeting is early. October 1st. Yeah, it's October 1st, so our other meeting should be at least a week before that, so it's even earlier than normal.
Okay.
so last observation, remember, when you come up with the master plan, you're not obligated to follow it. So if you down the line say, well, the pavilion and the playground is not necessary, let's just keep it as open space. That's certainly your prerogative.
Yep.
And it's Herculean, the time that I've been here, the fact that all the groups agreed that this should be kept as a public space was pretty
That was great.
significant in its own. And so part of the staff recommendation was to make sure that you guys keep going forward. You're not having these things, and that's why the wisdom of Solomon was the approach in my recommendation. Hey, let's be pragmatic that this may not be realistic anymore, but reserve the right to come back and figure out some opportunities elsewhere. So I appreciate your patience with this. I'm sorry it was so late.
Yep.
We're going to bring this back to a work session. Hopefully these tables were useful on how to organize your thoughts. If not, please let me know.
Maybe we could do a matrix too of the the things, like Vice Mayor said, where it's one entrance, two entrance. Well, like the one entrance, two entrance,
Yeah, so you
0,
see,
1, 2, 3 buildings, right?
I'm sorry. So when you have the color coding in your packet,
Yep.
I didn't realize I was so in tune with the planning commission.
you have this in your packet right now
Yeah.
with the TC tab.
Right.
And then what I tried to do was reserve
Give
you a
us a
spot, and you can see where, vehicular environment, less parking, singular vehicle access. So that kind of helps organize your thoughts.
So maybe we can come to the meeting with those already filled out. We'll make it a
And we're going to take all
productive.
this and come back. So.
Well done, well
Good,
done. Well
yes.
Thank you.
Obviously, a lot of time spent in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Solomon.
That was actually from Barry. Barry said it. You being from the same generation, you said it. I'm teasing.
Didn't somebody say that Saturday, I think?
Okay, so we're going down the line here. Our next update, light on was our Councilwoman Swinford update. As all of us know, that she's put in her resignation. I'd like to have the clerk advertise that we're seeking a candidate for the council to appoint. The council will be appointing this position until the next election, which would be in May, I believe. Correct. We've had the town attorney speak to the Office of Election, and it looks like because of the requirements that are needed, that an appointment would be the best way to proceed, since we're now coming down to the, heading toward the next election.
We do have one candidate, or one candidate has put in her name for consideration, that I think it was maybe, I'm not sure, it was sent to all council or not. Okay. Okay, yes. So then also we have our ARB and Planning Commission vacancies, so if we could also maybe advertise those as well.
How many vacancies do we have?
So,
One PC, one BCA, any ARB? No. No ARB, okay.
okay. What else?
You're gonna,
Right.
you're gonna need an ARB, you know? I think we've got a twofer. You're gonna short an ARB.
Yeah, with Pam gone, yeah, we would need a liaison from the council. So maybe we can take the time and to consider that as well. I think maybe just have the opening for, until our next work session, that we could put this as an agenda item. That will give time for people if they would like to be considered.
I think the next 3 weeks is enough time to solicit interest and have people, what we've done in the past, I'm assuming we'll do again, is just have them come before council and state why they think they are the appropriate person to join.
Right. I think we have
And make a decision at the council meeting.
I think we have a form online as well, isn't there, that people can use to fill out? Okay.
You know, as punishment, whoever we select, they could be the ARB rep.
That could be a consideration, yeah. Right.
It's called a special privilege.
Yeah, special privilege.
He was being non-PC.
We have two other items. We're going to need to go into executive session tonight. Sure.
Your ARB Planning Commission
Right.
line item was actually not about.
Oh, the vacancies?
Yeah,
I apologize.
The, came out of your work, out of your retreat, about tasking the Planning Commission and the ARB to come up with their own code of conduct or standards of, code of ethics or standards of conduct. They would, either board would have the option to either adopt your, what you all have adopted as a body, or they can come up with their own. But I believe that that line was an item in the agenda. Sorry, it is getting late. The item in the agenda was for that specific purpose.
Gotcha.
Not for
Page,
appointments.
Page 98 was
In
blank,
that
so.
case, can
that-
you make a directive to direct the town manager to approach the chair of the ARB and the Planning Commission to ask them to prepare their own code of ethics and to provide them with our code of ethics as a template, not one they have to follow, but something to give them some guidance.
Okay. All right.
Didn't we do that already?
It's time to do it again.
Yep.
The resistance was immense
All right.
last time.
So there again, it's a directive, but that's fine. I think we're all in agreement to it.
That's a good idea.
Yep. Last two items are council member time, and we have to go into executive session. We could do our council member time now, or if you'd like,
Do it, yeah, let's
and then just come out, and that way we're done. Okay. Councilman Morse.
I just want to thank Brian for redistributing the trash cans. They look good, but if you guys, as you walk around town and you think that they could be redistributed better, just let us know. I think it's much cheaper than going out and spending $8,000 to purchase more trash cans. So, well done. That's it, sir. Thank
All
you.
right. Councilman Passanella.
In the interest of minimalism, I have nothing to add.
Okay. Councilman Cottle.
I just want to thank Marchant for all the work he's done and the way he's fighting to preserve buildings in the town. And I appreciate, Brian, you taking the lead on this, updating this policy about gathering. And I just want to thank Pam for her service and let you know that we're praying for your husband.
Absolutely.
Good. All right. Vice Mayor Aiken.
I have nothing further to add. My esteemed colleagues have said it all.
Councilman Woods?
I believe I agree with Mr. Aiken's statements.
Okay, I guess I'll be the long-winded one tonight. A couple things. Of course, the reminder of Haymarket Day, we're approximately, 10 days out, and I think Denise had sent out some requests for council help and what we would need to help to make that day a successful day. I'm also going to invite Corporal Dandria for Haymarket Day as well, a personal invitation for him and his family to attend. Within the last month, went to Ireland. I had the pleasure of meeting our Lord Mayor Arthur Carson from the city of Belfast, which was a very unique experience. He's very humble. He made us feel very welcome in his city hall. It was really neat to see a behind-the-scenes tour of City Hall that was built back in about 1908, if I remember correctly. Kind of a cool thing. He actually took us into his chambers, and they had his executive bathroom was actually liked so much that they templated that to actually make it on the Titanic. Exact replica on the Titanic was. For those that ever have the opportunity to go to Belfast, I would totally encourage it. Most warm and welcoming people that I think I've ever experienced, maybe other than our town, but very good. Also, we attended the Town of Vienna council meeting. Councilman Pesanella received the proclamation that the count, and we challenged them to light their town in red, which I believe they did a fountain in the town of Vienna. So they took our challenge and made that happen. And as I mentioned earlier, the town of Leesburg did their proclamation tonight. We'll be going September 22nd to actually receive a copy of that at their meeting. And I think that's it. That's it for me.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
No, we are not going to call you Lord Mayor. I wanted
No,
to say it.
no, but it actually was pretty cool. They have this symbol, which is actually, I think it was just for the, what's it called?
Yoke.
Yeah, the yoke. 1.2 million pounds for just the one. The emblem alone, probably another £1 million for U.S. dollars. And this guy wears it every meeting, and literally it weighs almost, I think, 14 pounds.
3 security guards.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, very unusual way that they do business over there, but yeah.
Build a park with that.
Yeah, we could actually, yeah. So I'll have our attorney bring us into a closed session. Hopefully it won't last too long tonight. Yeah, so we can't lose anybody. We'll have to come back to certify as well.
I move that the council convene in closed session to discuss or consideration or interviews of candidates for employment or appointment and salary or other compensation of a specific employee as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1, a personnel matter
So
involving
moved.
those specific items.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So I can start? Okay. Tobacco tax, that's what we need to be thinking. I asked. I don't know. Jim was going to look at it. All right, great. We'll go ahead and call this meeting back to order. If you could bring us back into session.
All right, I move that the council certify that in the closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session and lawfully permitted to be discussed under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act cited in that motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right?
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
Councilman Woods?
Yes.
Mayor Leak?
Yes.
Councilman Tuttle?
Yes.
Councilman Passanello?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Aiken?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
I'd like to direct the our lawyer to proceed as described in the meeting tonight. And I would also like to direct the mayor to proceed with the salary adjustment as discussed tonight.
All right, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed? All right,
Motion to adjourn.
here you go.
Second.
Everyone gonna second me.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.